All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. We are here today, Tuesday, November 26th, 3:47 p.m. We've got a ton of earnings after the bell. We've got Crowdstrike, which we'll talk about. We've got Dell. We've got HP. We've got Workday. And we've got a couple more. These are pretty much the final earnings we have before Thanksgiving. I think we have a few the first week of December. But after these earnings, we are pretty much done with Q3 earnings, and then we just have to deal with December to get through the rest of the year. So this is going to be a very, very important market close as we end out. I see that the stream hasn't started on YouTube yet, even though I'm live. We really got to fix this StreamYard delay. So those who are joining literally right now and hearing me talk, you just missed 30 seconds of me introing the stream. I don't know why there's this delay on StreamYard. Like, we really got to fix that because that is not good. But regardless, all I said was we've got a lot of earnings after the bell. CrowdStrike, Dell, HP, Workday. Lots to talk about. Jason will be here for Technical Tuesday because today is Tuesday, probably around 4:30. So we're going to get through earnings, and then at 4:30, we will go through all the technicals. But the story of the day to start off before we get into earnings is obviously Bitcoin that is down at 91,000. Now, look, this is hurting. This is hurting a lot of different stocks today. Bitcoin right here down about 3%. We were at 94 in the morning, I think touching 95. Now at 91,500. Ironically, the S&P doesn't care about Bitcoin. The S&P is trying to break 601, which is a new all-time high on the S&P 500. Pretty damn incredible. 600.99 basically hit 601.17, right back at 601, up 0.5%. S&P doesn't care about the tariffs, nor do they care about Bitcoin. As a result, you got the Qs that are also going up, trying to get back to all-time highs at 509. I think the all-time high is 515, up 0.5% as well. What's down? MicroStrategy. And this is not even as bad as it was. It was at 338 at one point. It's at 359. Marathon down 5%. Semler Scientific, that is also using this kind of Bitcoin strategy of putting it on the balance sheet. They're down about 7.47% on the day. And then Hood obviously is down as well because they have a crypto catalyst that goes both ways. Now, I did buy Hood today. I bought 200 shares, about 100 shares at 37, and then another 100 shares at 36.25. So a little early on the 37 one, 36.25. Could it go lower than that? Sure. If Bitcoin goes to 80,000, Hood's probably going back to like 29, 20, 30. But regardless, I picked up 200 shares today, 36.25 and 37. So that was my buy for the day. But regardless, I mean, if you believe Bitcoin's going lower, then Hood, MicroStrategy, Marathon, CleanSpark, Coinbase, all these names you will be able to get cheaper. The question is, can you handle the volatility to the downside? And can you not FOMO into the upside at 540 on MicroStrategy because you think Bitcoin's going to the moon, and then Bitcoin ends up not going to the moon, right? Or at least not going above 100,000. 293 on Coinbase, down about 5.95% on the day. So that is kind of the story of the past couple hours in terms of what Bitcoin is doing, how that's interacting with the broader market, and why it's taking down some of these names that are obviously getting hit. MSTX, 2x leveraged against MicroStrategy. They're down 25% today because MicroStrategy's down. SOFI is taking a little bit of a hit, down 1.86%. I think all financials actually took a hit today. Yeah, XLF, well, slightly green. Maybe that's a SOFI thing. Is JP Morgan down? No, JP Morgan's up. Bank of America is up. All right, so that's a SOFI thing. SOFI is getting hit. The other financials are rather green for the day. HIM's down 2.4%. Palantir nicely holding up 1.3%. They are now on the NASDAQ exchange, not in the QQQ yet, but they are on the NASDAQ, which is really good for them, up 1.3% of the day. Enphase down about 1.64%. Amazon, nice 3% day for them. And Google up about 1%. And RKLB, it was at 26.70 at one point, right now at 25.43, but still an amazing 5.78% day for RKLB. So it's a really interesting dynamic that you're looking at right here. The S&P is breaking all-time highs. I mean, all-time highs. That's pretty remarkable, right? On a couple of days before Thanksgiving, you know, you can imagine a lot of people are getting ready to visit their family. They're not going to be at their desks for the whole day. And still, there's enough market buy-side momentum to take the S&P higher, even with the threat of tariffs, which it seems like as of last night, those futures were a bit of a, we kind of care, we kind of don't care. And this morning we figured out the market does not care, at least now, about tariffs. I mean, they really do. If they actually cared, the street would be down on the market on the fears of tariffs. And I think they're interpreting tariffs in just a different way versus as bad as what the market wants it to seem. 10-year, let's take a look at that. So I think that's the story of the day. Bitcoin down, market doesn't care. They're going higher, and you got people rotating potentially out of some of these crypto plays as well into the market. One other headline I'm seeing right now on CNBC, by the way, the 10-year 4.298, so that did tick up a little bit. Maybe this is why the S&P just went up in the past 30 minutes. Israel and Lebanon permanent ceasefire has been accepted as per Biden. Effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese and Israeli border will end, President Joe Biden said in the White House Rose Garden. I think this happened like literally 20 minutes ago where he made this announcement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said earlier in the day that he supported the ceasefire deal, which he sent to his cabinet for approval. That actually is why I think this broke at 341. It's 352. Yeah, I think that's the reason the S&P is going higher. Just peace, certainty. That's good for the broader markets. Now, ironically, Bitcoin's not going higher on that. I mean, Bitcoin maybe bounced a little bit on that, but Bitcoin's down for the day. And, Bitcoin tends to do well when there's less geopolitical volatility. So right here, I think what you're seeing on Bitcoin is just people not believing that there's a run to 100,000 built in, and they are, for lack of a better word, paper handing. But again, if you bought this thing at like 50 cents or something, and you've been in this thing for years, and selling at 91,000 is not the worst thing in the world. Even if you bought it at 80,000, selling at 90,000 is not the worst thing. One thing we did talk about in the morning is that the sell side pressure at $10,000 when Bitcoin was 9,997, it was hard to break through that, and it took weeks to break through that. Also, when we were trying to get to 20,000 back in 2016, when Bitcoin was at 19,900, that took 2 weeks. It went down 17% before it finally made the run above 20,000. And some people are speculating maybe history repeats itself, and that continues to happen as well. IWM is down on the tariffs news. They were not able to escape the wrath of tariffs, but the broader indices are doing okay. IWM right here down about 0.67%. It was up like 3% yesterday, so giving back some of those gains. S&P 500 right here, 601.17. MicroStrategy 353 down 12%. It was down at 338, and then you got Marathon right here down 5.2%. Qs are currently green, 509. Okay, let's talk about the names we have. Crowdstrike, Dell, HP, Workday. 4 very big names. Let's make our list right now. There's a couple others, but those are the big ones. I just want to know general thoughts on any of these names. So if anyone has any thoughts, let me know what you're thinking. Bullish, bearish, any of them. I think Crowdstrike's the biggest one that I'm the most curious on. Look, Crowdstrike is up 44% year to date. It's up like, I think 95% or 92% from the lows. It is kind of, in my opinion, for lack of a better word, price for perfection. And they're going to have to deliver a phenomenal quarter to get this thing to go even higher at this point. Now, nonetheless, CrowdStrike knows how to grow. I mean, they're a very good growth stock, and they've always continued the growth, even in the midst of like the stuff they had to deal with in July. But I think that's going to be one of the most important names that we're looking at right here, along with the others. So real quick numbers on these names that we're looking at. CrowdStrike, the street wants $983 million in revenue versus 81 cents in EPS. On Dell, the street wants $24.65 billion in revenue, $2.05 of EPS. HP, the street wants $14 billion in revenue, 93 cents of EPS. Workday, the street wants $2.13 billion and $1.76 of EPS. Now, what's very important to understand about these names is that some of them are up, some of them are down. Particularly Workday is the one that's down. So I think for Dell, just to do a quick summary of it, the market wants to see operating margins go up, plus commentary on if SMCI issues was a tailwind for them. Dell's up 88% year to date. CrowdStrike, market wants to know, is there still any issues with the July incident? CrowdStrike's up 44% year to date. Workday, one of the only software names that has not seen the tailwind. I think the markets are looking for, hey, what's your AI strategy? They're down 1% year to date. And then HP, the first time they showed revenue growth in 9 quarters, over 2 years, was last quarter. That's why we're in a bull market, because when HP is finally showing some revenue growth, that is why the market is doing well. If they can continue that revenue growth of hopefully 2% or higher into this quarter, I think that'll be really good for HP. HP as well is up 30% year to date. So that's what we are looking at in the context of earnings. Let's see what you guys are saying. Andre says Crowd is going to 400. Gene says time for Crowd to put the Y2K momentum behind them. Great company. I agree. It's just going to be a question of can they really show the growth to get the market to buy even more of their stock, as it's up 44% year to date. June says CrowdStrike's going to go down. Okay, so it seems like that's the one we care about the most. Let's do a poll on that one, and let's see what people say. For Crowd, dump or pump on Crowd? I honestly have no clue, dude. I really have no clue. Like, could they pull a pound here where they're up a lot, but they just continue to go up? Is the growth that good? Or, are they up a lot and the market's like, all right. I mean, Palo Alto as a comparable fell 5% after earnings, and they beat on the top and the bottom. So what does the street want to see for CrowdStrike? Not really sure. CrowdStrike's PE as well, 531. Again, it doesn't matter too much given they're growing phenomenally. But are they growing enough to continue to get back to all-time highs, which is basically around 398 for CrowdStrike? So I think that's what we are going to have to see. Urban Outfitters and Autodesk, yeah, let me put those up as well. Urban Outfitters, they got hit on the last earnings. So that's what that one is going to be important to see if the consumer is still spending. And then Autodesk as well, another NASDAQ name. We'll take a look at that. That one's down about 0.43% currently right now. Zscaler's not today, to my understanding. I think it's next week or the first week of December, along with Salesforce, but not today. Oh, Nutanix. Yes, I have a friend who works at Nutanix. I told her yesterday, I was like, all right, time to see if you're actually producing shareholder value. Let's see if your work results in shares going up. So these are the 7 names that we're going to have to see as well. Look at Saylor's last tweet, so bullish. All right, what did Mr. Saylor say? His stock is down today. Michael Saylor, latest tweet. We got 3 minutes into the market close. Dude, Saylor doesn't care at all. Saylor does not care. Look at this. Just another day at work. Look at him putting out the fire. Bro, he's having fun with AI. He is having fun with AI. Again, if you missed the segment with Chris on the Market Open, I thought it was a really good segment because we dived into what exactly is going on with the funds that are giving him these convertible notes. And, how does the leverage cut both ways? And that's something we have to think about. This was one of the memes I made today. This is legit every guy who's in MicroStrategy. Your girl's like, you're thinking about other women. It's like, no, babe, I am thinking about how the hell this stock continues to get a premium with the coupon rate at 0%. Where does Bitcoin go? Like I think this is the majority of people going into Black Friday and Thanksgiving, just hoping that this thing works out. Cool. So that's kind of the headlines that we got as we get into the close. I think that Israel-Lebanon news definitely is helping the markets towards the end of the day. Tesla right here, 338. Tesla also flat on the day. Palantir again holding up really nicely. Robin at 36.42. I really like consolidation from 34 to 36. I think that's amazing. If we can, 37 to 39 to me was like more price discovery, and I'm happy we broke it. But 34 to 36 to me is like where I want to see it go. If it drops below 34, then something's happening, and most likely what's happening is we're getting some real bad downside momentum on Bitcoin. But we got to see kind of how that plays out and where the market takes it. What's interesting about Bitcoin right now is if it's like, if it's really getting people out and shaking people up, going from 99 to 90, and maybe it bottoms at 85 and a lot of people are just like, screw it, and then it just rips all the way back up. I think that's what a lot of people are expecting, and that would be very typical of Bitcoin if that happens. So a lot of the proxies would be affected in the short term, but then potentially go up. So I think that's what the market's kind of waiting for to see what exactly is playing out here. Also, another question is Saylor going to buy more, right? How is the market going to interpret even more convertible debt raises to buy Bitcoin? Palantir 65.77. We got 15 seconds until the market close. Big earnings at 4:30. Jason will be on. We will do Technical Tuesday. But we got a lot of madness that is going to start in about 5 seconds as we go through earnings. And it looks like Palantir is going to be closing above 65.50, which is not bad. 4 p.m. Tuesday, November 26th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now closed. All right, time for some earnings madness. 65.74 on Palantir on the close. Robin at 36.42. Q's at 509. S&P, I believe, is closed. Wow. All-time high, 600.74. We did hit 601, 6,000 on the S&P 500. All right, earnings. So I think we're going to get results pretty soon. I don't think these companies take too long. We should be starting to get them. And now we're going to see kind of what it looks like. Any of these moves right now, I don't think are real yet. I think the market's just getting the numbers, or should be getting the numbers. Let me pull up some sources right here. And within the next couple of minutes, we should see some numbers coming in. Palantir is impressive. Even in a red day, it always keeps and improves. Well, I mean, look, impressive is an understatement over the past 3 weeks of holding this $60 range. I mean, it's just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. And it's been doing its thing. And you had a lot of people like Steve who was skeptical this morning, thinking that it just can't keep up for the long term. And you got other people saying, hey, maybe it's normalizing in this range. Maybe it's not going to go up to 100 anytime soon, but it's not going to go down to 40. We're just going to have to see and kind of wait for that story to ultimately play out. All right, so no numbers after the bell yet. Nutanix, we do have a bit of a red candle right there, but then it's going green. So that's a little bit of probably glitching. Oh, we got Workday up 6%. There you go. Workday's up 6%. Workday, this was down 1% year to date. The street, I think, is waiting for some software excitement on Workday. We did see the transition from semis into software over the past couple of weeks, quite frankly, with SMH down 4%, IGV up 14%. Workday, let me try to get their numbers. It looks like they are up, and the street is happy about what they are seeing. Okay, we have Autodesk first. So this account is really good for those asking where I get these numbers. This account I'm gonna put in the chat. This account is very quick to update the numbers. So this account, I think it's called earnings _guy. If you guys want to follow that account, really, really good at real-time data. So Autodesk 217 versus 212, that's a beat. 1.57 versus 1.56, that's a beat. Autodesk is down, it's up 0.5%. Nutanix is up 4%. Autodesk is now up 1%. Workday is up 4%. It was up 5%. So don't have any of the numbers on those, but we do have numbers on Autodesk. Laura said, using Workday at work today reminded me why I hate that software. Well, if you hate the software, the street definitely doesn't love the stock yet because the stock is down in a really good year for the broader markets. But it is up 4% after hours, or about 6% right here. Autodesk, kind of up 2% after hours. A little bit, yeah, 1.18% going back and forth. Nutanix up 2%. Crowdstrike, that's the big one. No numbers on Crowdstrike yet. Dell is down after hours. 0.5%, then going flat. All right, so we still need to wait for Dell. Market's not really fully showing what we have for Dell. Nutanix is up 3%. All right, let me see if I can get Nutanix numbers as well. Let's see. Nutanix, NTNX. The street wanted for Nutanix, they wanted 572 million and 32 cents of EPS. Nutanix, no numbers yet. Okay, so no numbers on Nutanix. So that means that move. Oh, no, we got it. 18% year-over-year growth. That's good. CEO says, during our first quarter, we delivered outperformance across guided metrics. We also continue to bring innovations to the market, supporting our vision of becoming the leading platform for running apps and managing data anywhere while strengthening our partner ecosystem. Revenue was 1.97. The street wanted, no, that's, is that correct? Nutanix Q1. Yeah, that is okay. So this website I'm looking at for expectations is dead wrong. They're saying they're expecting 572 million, but they're bringing in 1.97 billion. That's way better. So I think the website I'm using was wrong there. But Nutanix right here, looking like 18% growth, up 3.66%. That is green. CrowdStrike a little green after hours, nothing too crazy. HP's down 2%. I'll try to get HP's numbers in a second. But Nutanix does have a nice beat. And yeah, there you go. 1.97 billion. In ARR. This might not be exactly their revenue growth though. No, it's 1.97 billion. Yeah. Oh, no. That's the ARR. That's different. So revenue was 591. They beat by 570. Okay, so they beat by 20 million. They beat by 20 million. Annual recurring revenue is a bit different than the actual revenue they got. So that they're talking about it in its totality. So they beat by 20 million. That's why Nutanix right here is up 4%. All right, HP is down 4%. Let's take a look at HP. Let's see if they can continue the growth. They have not grown outside of last quarter over 9 quarters. They finally growed. This is not the HP that does the servers. This is the HP that does the computers and the personal computing. HPE is the one that does the servers. So this is not really the SMCI proxy. This is general computing. Numbers on HP, don't have the numbers yet on HP. Let's see if somewhere else has it. Oh, I think we got something. All right, we got an earnings report. Let's see which one this is. And then we'll keep going. Is Dell tanking? Is Dell tanking? Oh, Dell's down 6%. We got a tank on Dell. Oh, we got a tank on Dell. We got a tank on Dell. That is correct. Dell is tanking. Now, granted, Dell was up a lot the past month going into this report. CrowdStrike also is tanking. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. CrowdStrike's down 3%. CrowdStrike and Dell, all of them are getting a little hit right here. CrowdStrike now down 4%. Dell down 6%. HP down 4%. Workday, they were up 3%. Now they're down 4%. Urban Outfitters is up 2%. Autodesk is up a little bit. Nutanix is up 2.5%. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, let's see what earnings update this is, and then I'll get the numbers for these guys. We've got 4 of the biggest names getting hit right now. Here is Workday.
Down almost 2% at this point. Back to you.
All right.
Better than expected.
Yeah, we'll be watching that one.
Start with that adjusted EPS number, $1.89 on EPS. That was a beat. Street was looking for $1.76 there. Revenue also stronger than expected, coming in at $2.16 billion. Subscription revenue is pretty much in line with what the street was looking for, and then non-GAAP operating margins 26.3%. That was higher than expected. Some comments here on Q4 subscription revenue looking stronger than expected, and then Q4 operating margins slightly light, but pretty much in line there. Also, some news in the C-suite. They are hiring a new role. It's a chief commercial officer. This is
okay, so CrowdStrike, they beat, wow, CrowdStrike's first $1 billion quarter, and the street's taking it down. Wow, CrowdStrike's first $1 billion quarter, and the street's taking it down. 93 versus 81 on EPS. That's a nice beat on EPS. Close to $1 of EPS, dude. Almost $4 of EPS per year. That's incredible. Revenue on a TTM, revenue 1.01 billion versus 983. That's a beat by about $18 million. Street takes it down. Now, granted, again, Crowdstrike was up a lot going into the print. So again, maybe just price for perfection, but damn, $1 billion quarter cannot get the stock to move higher. If anything, I think we can say that the Y2K incident is not affecting the growth. That's for sure. I mean, when you're beating revenue by 20 million and the street's already expecting 980 million, you're still beating. That's pretty damn incredible. Crowdstrike right here down about 4%. Dell down 4.7. Dell missed. They did not have a double beat. Dell, they missed on revenue. This is a small miss, though. This is a small miss. I'll check guidance in a second. We'll go to their website. Dell right here, 215 versus 206 EPS, 24.3 versus 24.7. That's a very small miss on revenue. But again, Dell was also up 88%. So kind of makes sense why Dell is down. Doug says buying CrowdStrike here. Interesting. So Dougie's buying the dip. Let me see what the poll was. I'll close the poll here. We had 57% say pump, 43% say dump. All right. So most of you felt Crowd could pump. I mean, numbers, you would imagine that they might get a pump. But again, I feel like the stock was up a lot. Maybe the call changes this. Maybe the call changes this. Maybe the call takes it back up. CrowdStrike now down 4%, Dell down 5%, HP down 2%, Workday continuing to get hit, down 4.5%. Urban Outfitters up 5%, Autodesk up 1.48% or down 2%. IREN Energy, they also have earnings today. These guys, Bitcoin Miner, they're up 2%. This is going to be an interesting one because I want to see if they have any comments on what Marathon's doing with this whole Bitcoin Treasury pseudo Ponzi scheme thing, and see if they want to join into what's going on right here. Oh, Nordstrom. We had Nordstrom earnings. Who shops in Nordstrom? They had earnings today as well. Double beat on Nordstrom. There you go. Nordstrom. They're not as expensive as Williams Sonoma, right? But they're still like one of those, I wouldn't say bougie stores, but like, yeah, they're not bougie. I wouldn't say they're bougie, but they do attract a certain type of audience. Nordstrom, 33 cents versus 22 cents, 3.4 billion versus 3.35 billion. So you got Nordstrom as well getting some momentum here. Let's look at Nutanix. These are their numbers, and I'm going to pull up CrowdStrike right after this.
Move higher in overtime on what is a solid beat from Nutanix, a multi-hybrid cloud company, reporting 42 cents. A big beat versus the estimate of 31. Revenue at $591 million, which is also above consensus. Gross margins look better than what Wall Street was anticipating. And keep in mind, the stock just hit a 52-week high in today's trade. The CEO comments here on bringing innovations to the market, supporting the company's vision of becoming the leading platform for running apps and managing data anywhere while strengthening their partner ecosystem, which they are doing. They recently announced a new partnership with Amazon's AWS. We're looking at the stock up another 2.5% in overtime, guys.
Seema, thank you. Also want to mention, Morgan, the revenue guide for Q2 midpoint.
Okay, so Nutanix is the only one that's kind of green here. Here's an update on Dell, and let's see what's taking Dell down about 6%.
Well, investments in AI, to your point, helped drive Dell's infrastructure group, but it wasn't enough to offset weakness in PC sales. For Q3, Dell posted an earnings per share beat of $2.15 adjusted on revenues of $24.37 billion, which was lower than what the street had anticipated. Its infrastructure business, which includes servers, storage, as well as networking, that came in at $11.37 billion, which was almost in line with estimates. Dell's chief operating officer, Jeff Clark, stating in the press release, quote, "Interest in our portfolio is at an all-time high, driving record AI server orders demand of $3.6 billion in Q3 and a pipeline that grew more than 50%.
Wow. 50% growth of their pipeline in the server business. I mean, when we hear all these people talking about the data center build out, it looks like Dell is one of the pivotal players that's helping them build out all of these data centers.
They now have about $4.5 billion in backlog of AI servers specifically, but that wasn't enough growth to offset the weakness in its client solutions group, which includes personal computers, for example. Management stating that customers are lining up their upgrade cycle with new AI PCs in the first half of next year. Guidance coming on the earnings call, shares down almost 5%. Guys?
All right. Christina Partsinevelos, thank you. We've got.
They didn't mention the margins. We're going to have to dig through Dell to try to find some of those margins, but that also might be a reason Street's not loving it right now. All right, we have CrowdStrike. I want to go through CrowdStrike. This might take us 5-6 minutes, but I want to read through this. This is the biggest one of the day. CrowdStrike is still down 4%. Looks like guidance might be an issue. So here we go. Let's look at CrowdStrike. 4 billion ARR, 27% year-over-year growth. 1 billion in quarterly total revenue, 29% year-over-year growth. And delivers cash flow from operations of 326 million, free cash flow of 231 million, achieving a free cash flow rule of 51. Wow, Palantir is the only software company that has a better rule of 40 than CrowdStrike right here. CrowdStrike surpassed 4 billion in ending ARR in the quarter, the fastest and the only pure play cybersecurity software company to reach this reported milestone as their single platform approach and trailblazing innovation continues to resonate at scale. Total revenue again, 1.01 billion, 29% increase. ARR was up 27%. Subscription gross margin was up 78%. They made 16.8 million in no, that's their GAAP net losses. Their actual profits right here were about 243 million, which is not bad at all. Net cash was 326 million that they have, 4.26 billion still on the balance sheets, and they have all the highlights. Let's try to get to the guidance. Fourth quarter, they're guiding for 1.08 to 1.035 billion, and that's why the stock is down right now, because they just did 1.01 billion. So they're showing zero growth quarter over quarter. I don't know what that growth is year over year, but I imagine that growth is not bad year over year from what we had last year. Yeah, last year, I think that's still closing in on 28% growth. It might be just a little below 30%, but it looks like that's 28% growth year over year. So I guess the street's upset quarter over quarter that they're not going to keep growing, which again, when these companies get that big, you can't keep expecting that, but maybe that's a reason why it's down. Outside of that, numbers look good. Net income is growing. They beat on EPS by 8 cents. They have 4.26 billion in cash. I'm curious about their stock-based comp and how bad that is, but I think it's one of the better ones in the cybersecurity ecosystems. Their module adoption rates grew to 66, 47, 31%, and 20%. Named a leader in the 2024 Gartner Magic Quadrant. Received the high scores among evaluated vendors for core endpoint protection. Recognized as a Frost Radar leader in cloud workload protection. They didn't mention anything about the Y2K incident. Last time on the press release, they immediately mentioned it in the beginning. We got nothing right here. Also, their CFO says, our third quarter results reflected our focused execution and financial discipline, which drove a strong finish in quarter-over-quarter increases in pipeline, despite expected headwinds from the July 19th incident. All right, so a little bit of a mention there. We saw incredible success with our customer compliment packages as customers embraced the program and chose to deepen their relationship with CrowdStrike. Basically saying that you guys thought we were going to get dumped, and we didn't get dumped. She gave us a second chance, and that's why CrowdStrike is still alive. Yeah, it's recovering a little bit. Down 2.3%. It was down 5%. Dell's the one still getting hit, down 7%. Urban Outfitters is up 6%. Autodesk up down 7%. Nutanix up 11%. All right, so my friend should be very happy. They are producing some shareholder value right here. Nutanix right here up 11%. Also, their stock-based compensation should be making them happy right here as well. And you got CrowdStrike right here down 2.29%. Palo Alto Networks. Yeah, where's Palo Alto if CrowdStrike's down? They were down last week. Palo Alto's flat. I think it was down a little bit after hours, 393. Now it's back to 396. So market's really not that convinced that CrowdStrike is a bad quarter. I mean, if the only reason it's down is because they're showing no quarter over quarter growth into Q1, which is the worst quarter of the year, then that's not the best. Chris, this is a really good comment. Amit, what do you think of the Hawk Tua girl launching her own meme coin? Okay, so I saw this today. It's going to be ticker symbol Hawk. I'm not going to lie, bro. That sent a chill down my spine. Seeing the Hawk Tua girl, I saw it like 10 minutes before I went live, launching a meme coin. I don't know, bro. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, are we at that point? Are we at that point where anyone will buy a Hawk Tua meme coin? If they buy it, I hope they buy it on Robinhood. But like, if Robinhood's probably not going to offer it. But it's getting to that point right now. All right, here's CrowdStrike earnings.
That's a big one. Kate Rooney has those numbers. Kate.
Hey, John, it was a strong beat for Q3. The guidance is looking a little bit light, which is likely why the stock is down almost 4% after hours here. We'll start with that EPS number adjusted. That's 93 cents. It was a 12-cent beat for the quarter on revenue of 1.01 billion. That was stronger than expected. Q3 operating margins at about 19%. And then the guidance I mentioned, Q4 EPS at the midpoint, a little bit light compared to what Street was looking for. And then on Q4 revenue, pretty much in line, but a little bit conservative on guidance. A couple other points here from the release. $4 billion in ARR, growing 27% year over year. talk here. There's a quote here from the CEO, George Kurtz, talking about 97% gross retention and highlighting that $4 billion in ARR number. No mention of the outage here. We were doing some Control F, seeing if there's any commentary. Likely we'll get more of that on the call, guys.
They did say the July 19 incident has only deepened our relationship. So they did say a little bit of that on the press release.
See stock down almost 4% after hours. Back over to you.
All right. Kate Rooney, thank you. Adam Crisafulli, want to go back to you because we just got a parade of results across a number of industries, whether it's the consumer, whether it's tech and software. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for tech, for enterprise tech, it looks like demand is relatively healthy. I think for some of these names that have had big runs and are pretty expensive on a valuation basis, there might be some knee-jerk disappointment on certain aspects of the guidance, but it looks like all these companies are still seeing pretty healthy demand.
And that's good. That's good for Palantir. That's good for the software sector. That's good for the potential argument that applications of AI are going to start to make more sense in 2025. I mean, regardless of these stocks being green or red, wow, Dell down 7%, Crowd now down 4%, HP down 10%, and Workday down 8%. So I think all of them at, 4:18 p.m. decided to just take a real bad dump. Regardless of them being down 5 to 10%, all of them outside of Workday were up more than 50%. Dell or HP was like 30%. So stocks are down, numbers are good, slight misses across the board for Dell, very slight miss, for HP and Crowd, no miss at all, and for Workday, no miss at all. So HP also had a double beat. So these stocks going down to me is a little bit more of like, all right, they were up a lot, earnings weren't phenomenal, we're going to take the stock down. And in this market, you have to have phenomenal earnings to continue going higher. But that's not necessarily bearish on this sector of the economy, which is software and cybersecurity. It doesn't feel as bearish as the stock prices currently are implying right here. But they are down. They are down today. Urban Outfitters, they have their numbers, 87 cents expected, $1.10 they beat. So that's a nice beat on EPS. And then revenue 1.362 versus 1.34 billion. That's a beat on revenue. Urban Outfitters, they took it on the chin last time. This stock right now is up 5.2%. URBN year to date, these guys are up 12%. Yeah, they were at 46. They went all the way down to 37 by September. Now they're back at 42 after hours. So again, the consumer is saying they have enough money to shop at places like Urban Outfitters. Abercrombie and Fitch also had a double beat. Where do they end up for the day? They were red by 5% on the day. But again, ANF was up like 70% going into the print as well. So a lot of these names, not bad numbers, not troubling numbers, not bad numbers in the context of consumer or enterprise demand, but stocks were up. And stocks are taking a little bit of a hit here as they went up. Bad day to report. Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of a bad day to report with all the Bitcoin volatility we got going on. But then you got the S&P 500 that's at a new all-time high, along with this tariff thing that was brushed off, along with Israel and Lebanon just agreeing to a ceasefire. So you do have some tailwinds that we just got towards the end of the day. But broader market, I guess, had a little bit of a sell-off in different sectors, and that made it tough to report. Dell right here down 7%. Crowdstrike trying to recover down 2%. HP down 7.9% currently right now. Palantir 65.90 after hours. All right, so if those earnings didn't make Workday go up, they definitely made Palantir go up. Wow, 66 on Palantir, huh? What's happening after hours? Not sure. Unless the street saw Workday's earnings and they're like, screw this. We're buying Palantir at 150 billion. We don't care about Workday. I don't know. I don't think there's any news after hours. I don't think there's any news. The switch to the NASDAQ, even if that's happening, that's not like something that's going to create a ton of buy-side pressure, at least not yet. And I think that already happened in the morning. But yeah, nothing I'm seeing after hours. Oh, I did see. Oh, look at this. I'm looking at this right here. This is a pretty bullish call flow on Palantir. This was posted 5 minutes ago. Look at that. Wow. That's a ton of calls. These are like $500,000 a piece of sweeps of calls, or 250 to 500. Look, someone got, what are these strikes? Someone bought $1 million of the $75 strike at March 2025. Someone else bought another 250 grand of it. Someone else bought another 200 grand of it. Someone else bought another 200. Wow, that $75 call by March is getting eaten up. And then the $85 call by June, you had a sweep of 220,000. And then you had a $38 call that got an 800,000 sweep into January of 2025, which I think is reasonable. I think Palantir is above 38 by January 2025. So maybe some of that call buying is helping. Yeah, we're up 1% after. I don't know. I don't know why it's up. I have no idea why it's up. I outside of people seeing the call buying and they're like, I'm going to get in this because the option buyer is getting in. I don't know. That's because of Dan Ives. Yeah, that $75 strike is definitely because of Dan Ives. That is definitely the reason. I don't think it's the NASDAQ, dude. I think that happened in the morning, but even if it's happening right now, switching exchanges itself, I don't think is the catalyst. The catalyst is if we get the rebounds on December 13th. Then, even if people say it's baked in, I still think there's a shot that people just buy it if we get into the QQQ. But that news is not today. Oh, now we're red. Oh, now we're green. You guys saw that on Webull, right? It just went down 2%. Now it's up 1%. Okay, so maybe we'll get some news on Palantir in a bit. We'll find out what's happening. S&P up a little bit after hours. Tesla as well, up about 0.24%. IREN hasn't posted yet. Yeah, I haven't seen IREN's numbers. Let me check in a second. IREN is up 1.36%. Let me see if I have the actual numbers for them. I'm very curious how they're navigating this Bitcoin thing. They reported revenue of 40. Okay, so here's the results on IREN. Let's see. Did they get a new contract? Palantir got a new contract? I mean, I'll check. If anyone has the link, let me know in the chat. I'll see if they got anything there. So I ran 49.6 million of Bitcoin mining revenue, down from 54 million. That's okay, but not the best. They mined 2,813 Bitcoin, net loss of 51 million. Their exahash rate is 50, or they're planning to reach that by H1 2025. Which is earlier than H2. The company maintains 98 million in cash, no debt, increasing to 182 million by October 31st, 2024, operating with $29,000 all-in cash cost per Bitcoin. So they're making about 3x their Bitcoin if it gets to 100,000. IREN is focusing on alternative funding instruments and wow, look at that. IREN is focusing on alternative funding instruments and potential investor distributions in 2025. Alternative funding solutions to me sounds like convertible notes. That's what I think it sounds like. They might be following. Is Palantir still running? Where are we at? Yeah, we're up 1%. I don't know, guys. I really don't know. I don't know what the news is here on Palantir. I have no idea. Searching it up right here. I don't have anything. The best thing I can guess is the NASDAQ switch, but I don't know if that's a real news. On their, let me check their IR. Do we have any investor relations news? Palantir financials, SEC filings. No, nothing there. News. No, nothing there. Micro IREN strategy. Maybe it's micro IREN strategy. That final sentence, alternative funding instruments. That sounds like notes that convert at a 0% coupon and they're getting into the bubble, baby. Or the game. Let's not call it a bubble. They're getting into something. And it might be the MicroStrategy way. Chris Patel was right this morning. If a couple people are doing it, MicroStrategy, it's good. If everyone is doing it, it won't work. Yeah, it is kind of scary, dude, if everyone does it. I mean, seeing that Hawk2A meme coin that's launching soon, those are scary, bro. Because it's not, Haley Welch is not understanding the internal dynamics of Solana-based meme coins. She has a team around her that can use her brand. Now, granted, she's been exploiting her 15 minutes of fame very well. I mean, I'm proud of her. It's capitalism. She's winning. She's taking advantage of the moment. I hate the celebrity shilling crypto meme coins that someone's going to be bag holding aggressively. And it's just a game of who can get out of it first. I think they should have the right to do it. I hate that they do it. But that is one thing that potentially could end badly. Or maybe this meme coin goes to the moon and becomes but the thing about a meme coin, again, given like Dog with Hat and me observing that meme community, you need to have people that believe in something. Do people just believe in Hawk2A? Like, is that the moat? They believe in this idea of Hawk2A? I mean, like, is that enough to... Now, you may be saying that, well, do people believe in a dog with a hat on? Yeah, I guess they do. I don't know if people believe in a Hawk2A. And we're going to have to see. Crowdstrike right here down 2%, Dell down 7%, HP down 7%, Workday down 8%, and Autodesk down 7%. Let me see if we can get some coverage on HP real quick, and then we will get into Technical Tuesday and see what we got going on. We got Doug saying, I believe in Hawk2A. Oh my gosh, dude. As a meme coin, I don't know. That is a little weird. Let's do Urban Outfitters and then HP, and then we'll get into Technical Tuesday.
Too, and Courtney Reagan has those numbers.
Hi, Morgan here. So Urban Outfitters also turning in a stronger than expected quarter, beating earnings per share, $1.10 adjusted. The street was looking for 86 cents. So that's a nice beat. Urban revenues also better than expectations, 1.36 billion. That outstrips $1.34 billion expected. Same-store sales for the overall company, all the brands, up 1.5%, slightly better than expected. And then when you look by business segment, really was the namesake Urban Outfitters that's the weakest. They did see comparable sales here fall 8.9%. The street was looking for that to fall, but not quite that much. And then the other divisions were higher. Anthropologie and Free People higher by 5.8 and 5.3% respectively. When it comes to the holiday quarter, no exact guidance, though the CEO is saying he's optimistic when it comes to the outlook for the holiday, and he expects comparable sales to be similar to what they put up here in the third quarter, which would be a gain of 1.5%. Back over to you, John.
All right. Well, that one's up a lot, almost 6%. Court.
Things are out, and Seema Modi has those numbers. Seema.
Morgan, HP delivering earnings that came in line with estimates, 93 cents. A beat, though, on revenue, topping $14 billion in the quarter. Sales tied to printers came in above Wall Street consensus, but personal systems slightly light, though HP CEO Enrique Lorez telling CNBC that now AI PCs make up about 15% of overall PC shipments.
That's pretty significant. AI PCs, 15% of PC shipments. A lot of people are betting on AMD because they believe they're going to be creating the next generation of AI personal computers over the next 5 years. That's kind of like the real bull case outside of even the whole GPU, CPU stuff. So there might be an argument that AMD, is AMD up on that news at all? AMD right here. No, still slightly down after hours right here.
That number expected to grow. Enterprise, he says, is growing faster as companies look to replace and replenish aging technology. And on the prospect of tariffs, Lorez said HP started redesigning its manufacturing footprint about 3 years ago and therefore is more resilient to geopolitical changes. And that, I asked him also about that recent tweet from Elon Musk about interest in upgrading America's software and infrastructure. He said that they are in touch with President-elect Trump's transition team. I would mention full year guidance, Morgan, is in line with consensus. And we are looking at the stock down just about 9% here in overtime.
So we're getting a really wonky after hours for these names. And maybe it's just due to the holidays coming up. So people are kind of just selling them off and not caring. IREN Energy is up 6% and it was down 8% today. They're taking a loss on their Bitcoin mining operations, but that final sentence of alternative funding instruments, if they get asked on the earnings call today, hey, are you guys going to do a MicroStrategy? And they say yes, I think that maybe they get rewarded by doing that. Nutanix right here up 6%, Autodesk down 7%, Urban Outfitter up 5%, Workday 8% down, HP 8% down, Dell 7% down, CrowdStrike, the best one out of all of these, only down about 1.54%. Maybe the earnings can reverse some of the downside momentum on CrowdStrike. All right, there we go. That was the madness today on earnings. We don't have any more earnings until the first week of December. So nothing tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. December, we have Salesforce, Zscaler, Marvell, Okta, Ulta Beauty, Lululemon, DocuSign, a couple of these final names, GitLab, etc. And then earnings season is officially done. All right. Yes, we talked about the Israel peace deal. That's something that I took the S&P. I think I took the S&P to 6,000 towards the end of the day. So that was also very good news for humanity and also good news for the broader markets. All right. Let's get into Technical Tuesday. So if you're new to the channel, we bring on one of the best technical analysts on the planet, in my opinion, who understands how to read the charts. And we do it every Tuesday for about 2 hours. And before we bring him onto the stage, we have to roll the intro.
What is up, my guy? We are here. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Crazy.
Are you excited for Thanksgiving?
How so? Well, I just got a text from my brother saying that we should plan like a trip up to Oregon all of a sudden for Thanksgiving. So I'm like, and drag the whole family up there. So
okay, be honest. Do you want to do that or no?
I want to do it, but mom's here, wifey's here, baby's here. I want to do it, but we had already decided not to do it. So I'm really hesitant to tell them that everybody else is going to go.
How
because they don't like change, man. They don't like change. So like the plan was set to stay. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be like, yeah, let's go.
This is something that everyone has to deal with their family around this time. Like, how do you tell them, I don't care about you this weekend? Like, because that's essentially what you're saying to him. Right?
No, I want to go. The thing is, I don't think that they want to go because they've already decided, oh, we're going to cook here. We're going to do this. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
Well, in trouble too because I didn't call wifey back earlier, and she's like, "You never call me back." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I was trading. Damn it."
Too busy making money. So, okay, so we got a lot to get into. I think we'll just get into the charts. A lot has happened since last week. Let's start with Palantir, and then let's do Palantir, Tesla, NVIDIA, get those out of the way, and then we'll have a discussion on the Ponzi's or not Ponzi's associated with it.
Oh, got it. So what I'm doing right now, this is last week, I think about last week when we had that kind of like, oh shit moment, right? Where you're gapping up in the pre and like you have that day. What, something about FUD, maybe like carp selling, stuff like that, right? This was what our view was last week. I'm on a 30-minute chart right now. Just if I have lines on my charts, this is a 20-day simple moving average. Blue is a 50, red is a 200. You don't really need to worry about purple. That's 200 week, but these are all daily simple moving averages. So I'll use that to determine the trend. We just want to know, hey, look, are these expanding in range? The distance between these? Yes, they are. You're good. What I said this day was like, this is what we would call exhaustion. Sorry if I'm moving around a little bit quick here. I'm just trying to show you guys. So this is like buyers are exhausted. And I'm thinking, okay, if we break below, I think it was this like 59, 58, then it's probably a short. But until then, we're probably going sideways for a bit. And now this is where we are. So just playing the tape forward, we never broke down below that 59. So 59 ended up being actually that day a pretty solid so far dip buy, but we haven't broken out just yet either until we got to pretty much today, Friday's open, where finally, so this was in the pre-market session of Monday the 18th. And so right now it looks like it's really trying. Clearly, the buyers stepped in, they started to reaccumulate. So this price action here from that one kind of like exhaustion day has been absorbed at this point, and I don't think that we're breaking below this level. So I think you're okay, but I don't know that this is ready to go just yet either. So usually when we have this kind of formation, this is a little sketchy. It's still in the box, if you will. So I still would say cover calls are probably going to do well for a very short period of time. So far from this day, we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6 days. 6 days from that exhaustion day. We've basically gone sideways. So if you were selling cover calls, that's good.
Yeah.
In the moment though, what we're going to set up here. So right now we have what's called a double top. We're not out of the weeds yet. I don't know that this breaks down, but we want to be cautious. This might do a little bit of what we call back and fill, right? So another third shot at that 65, 67 level. And it's not usually the third try. Usually the third try doesn't happen and it'll pull back a little bit, but it is on that fourth attempt. So it's a setup like this, and the levels that I'm coming up with, and I just drew them randomly. So it's this level right here. I would look to hold, and so see where that exhaustion was, and we have this little box right here, right in here. So if this was the prior support area down here, now we're looking for that basically just to go slightly higher.
Right.
And what's happening is we are seeing that. So.
Yeah, I know that's the sort of normalization of 50 to 60.
Bingo. Yeah. So this is constructive. I think it could go as deep as potentially 63s right now. So let me be clear. This is something that is setting up. It's not tradable by my eye just yet, if that makes sense. So on the third attempt, maybe near term, it makes this push into 67s. But see, it's every time we get up here, this is the concern. You open at the highs and you close at the lows. you're not closing below the prior day lows, but you're opening at the highs and you're closing at the lows. And in general, so 30-minute chart, within the first hour of trade, if the high is made within the first hour of trade, it's not usually the big continuation that we're looking for. Just simply speaking, if this is a single day, let me take this box away, and you're looking for a general trend, this is a single day. So clearly the low was made within the first hour of trade, and it closes on the highs, and the highs are made in the back half of the day. That's the day that you want to see, okay, we're likely going higher. Similar to today, but a lot of this, I'm going to drop down in time frame one more time. A lot of this was made kind of like in the after hours market, which is pretty thinly traded. Technically, the high was early, also 67.58. So I think this is still in that digestion mode.
I also think the price targets is kind of what created the breakout.
I mean, 75 is wild, right? But, it is what it is. So the 75 price target, look, it is what it is. 75 is where maybe
everyone who comments on it is just like, I don't fucking get it, but whatever. It's 75.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to somebody the other day. I think it was like CNBC, and I don't remember who it was. I'd love to give him credit. And they said, valuation is probably the worst leading indicator to trade around. Right. If that makes sense. Its valuation is probably the worst thing to trade on. If that makes sense. From a forward-looking perspective, valuation, if you're buying something because the valuation is low, it usually stays low. And if it's high, look, it stays high. We'll take it if we didn't ask yet. But so I don't know that this is the third attempt. Basically, is what I'm saying. Look, this week, today's Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe, just maybe, we get half a session of decent volume, and then I expect it to drop off like crazy.
Is tomorrow a half day or a full day?
Tomorrow's a full day.
Okay.
Friday's a half day. Friday, I'm not even thinking about trading. It's literally like the most dull day of the year, every single year. It's like I've tried so many times to look at to trade the day after Thanksgiving that I've just like, and I cannot think of a single time where it was like, oh, this was a good idea. Like every time I walk away being like, oh, that was just such an epic waste of time. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's going to be the fourth attempt. So ideally, it looks something like this, and this may be over the course of a week or two. But my point here is that the majority of the congestion time, I believe, is over. So a week's worth of rest, I think, is decent. That's why usually it's, shorter dated upside calls if you're selling. And then you take a new look. So not this week, next week, potentially. And you're going to know definitively if you're over that 67.50 closing. If you have a daily close over that 67.50, that's really the tell, right? And so that's what we're going to be looking for upside on Palantir. We'll just do a quick measured move on this recent congestion. And all I need to do is take that exhaustion day. And again, since it's really hard for people to do this at all-time high markets, we're just going to take this basic recent congestion and do a little bit of an extension. What do we call this? Like astrology, whatever. And would double this congestion level.
That's what Dan Ives did. Now you're at 75. Look at that.
And now we're at 75. We're actually
literally
75.
We're at 75. That's Dan and you came up with this last Sunday.
I didn't know Dan did that, but this is how you do it, right? This is how you do it, especially when you're on. A lot of people get lost when they don't have prior levels to trade against. This is how it's done. And it's literally, just one block to the next, and you're looking for that to kind of like just build off it. So that said, 100% extension does take you to that's just slightly over 75. You do this in two kind of tranches, if that makes sense. The first day you close over 75, 67.50, it's probably happening. Your first target within that zone is halfway, right? So about 72.50s, and then it'll probably take us a few days to stall. So this actually might be next week if you do get that breakout. And then it might stutter step a little bit and take another couple days to breathe. And then it goes again, if that makes sense. So try like maybe here next week and then breathe. And then the week after that. So this could be like a 2 to 3 week potential move that hasn't confirmed yet.
Right.
But if it does, that will confirm this general, general setup looks good. But again, the way this usually works is that you have this and there's like actually another one really smaller. It's just a smaller pullback.
Yeah. And for those watching, again, this is nothing around fundamentals or actual execution of the company. This is just pure technicals, what it could look like. We got some breaking news from Gene right here. SpaceX receives conditional approval for Starlink cell coverage with T-Mobile. That is not bad. T-Mobile stock right now kind of flat after hours, but that's definitely good news for SpaceX. Okay, can we do Tesla and see what the heck is going on?
Yeah, so Tesla in consolidation mode, it's tough. So 345 is really the big deal. So this day, so again, you have a daily close over 345. This 345 level is this massive consolidation. Or not, it's not massive. It's this recent consolidation. I'm going to pull this chart back just a little bit. Well, I'm going to pull this chart back a lot so you can see. I'm going to hide my drawings so those don't get in your way.
This is on the weekly, right?
Yeah. So on the weekly scale, I'll take all the lines off. So we're right here, essentially, and I'm just hovering so you can see it. So right into these prior highs. It was this 320 area. So see where I'm hovering right here over this like old triple top. So this pullback actually brought us to right about here. And I think that wick is just right into that area. So this 315 or thereabouts, I said, I don't really want to be short Tesla, really short Tesla, unless we're below 315. We never got there. Like we started to get there. We're not there. You can tie this back to this little wick right here. That's fine. And then you slowly kind of edge this higher, right? So right now we are in currently this upper congestion area. I really feel like Tesla needs a bit of a breather right now. So what happened? Tesla's on a larger kind of consolidation or exhaustion, if you will. So we have that gap up day, another exhaustion day here for Tesla, similar to how Palantir was. So whenever I see this kind of price action intraday, you gap up and you lock the highs in super early trade, like first couple minutes of trade, and you close at the absolute lows, regardless of downgrades or not, because this was a downgrade day. That tells me this is what we called that kill candle, right? We call it a kill candle, and it kills the current trend, if that makes sense. And it puts a stock into a like hibernation state, if that makes sense.
That's actually a good way to describe it. Yeah.
So it basically, if you're long, you're not necessarily like, so think about it this way. The market is like auction market, right? Like we just did one of these trading. Auction market theory is a thing, but like the market is just a bunch of buyers and sellers. And so you have to think about it in that terms. If you're long Tesla, are you selling it all here? No, you're probably not, right? If you're short Tesla, you're looking for it to continue to fall, but both sides of that scenario are waiting to see what happens next. And so that's why these stocks go into that kind of like hibernation mode, and they start to digest whatever it was that just happened. So at this point, I think Tesla, you can also look at it this way. It tried to go higher. Tesla really tried to go higher twice, right? So one shot, 2 shots, third shot. I just said it's not usually on the third shot, but it's actually on the fourth one. So the fourth attempt here probably goes, but if the current amount of buyers, and this is what I was trying to get to, think about it this way. If the current amount of buyers could not push it higher, it has to do what? They have to collect more buyers to like build that base and push it higher yet again. And how does it do that? Well, if they're not interested here, then it actually has to go a little bit lower. And that in order to go higher, if that makes sense, and attract more buyers. And so I think you could get this dip into the 320s, and that and then if you get a trigger on the daily, so when I say trigger, like lock in the lows in early session, closing out the highs, breaking over the prior day high, those kind of things, then I think, you might have collected a little bit more buyers near term in order to push this higher. But right now, the current investor base could not push it higher. So it's got to somehow go find more, whether that's some kind of fundamental change in the storyline or price action pulls it lower to fill this gap right here, right around this 320 level. That's what I would be looking for at this point. So I think maybe one more little pullback. And then at that point, this base ends up being a pretty decent one, like a month-long sideways move on Tesla. But, you could do it a couple ways. One, wait for it to come down and start to nibble at it. Just because it hits your area here doesn't mean it's immediately going to go up. That's important. The one thing that's key here is that it has to be comfortably over now 360 in order for this to be going definitely in an active breakout mode. But no question, really comfortably over 345, which is actually this area, right? Like this midpoint right here.
Do you like it at 320 or below? Do you think it has a...
I do.
You do?
I do. Yeah. So I'm actually slightly, like little bit short right now, just on a like very small little itty bitty swing. But it's really just like, all right, I'm gonna raise funds for a bigger long later. But I will like it here. It's either, either this is breaking up. So if it's over 345, I think that's like your third attempt or fourth attempt to go higher. I think 345, I mentioned this as your key pivot. On the right-hand side of my screen, this is called the volume profile. This is essentially where the highest amount of volume is by price. And that profile puts you right around that 345 level. So most of the trading volume has been done around 345. So to me, this is the pivot. And you look at this like a little mountain range, right? You see, so this is on the right-hand side. So if these are your mountains, you have these little peaks and valleys.
Right.
So you trade like peak to peak on this. And today's close, not the best. Again, locking the highs in the early trade hours, closing on the lows, right? We did that yesterday. We did that again today, albeit a smaller range. But today's close definitively below that 345 peak. So
kind of going sideways like Palantir at this point, right?
Yeah. But if Palantir was like the day after, right? The day after the exhaustion move on Palantir, it didn't look good, right? Yeah. But it's not, the thing is, it's not a big short by any means, right? It's like potential small pullback. And then we'll see. But this is definitively, clearly, I say clearly, clear to me, a consolidation range. And the trigger for sure that this is going to fill the gap is if you get a daily close below 335, which we got close to, but we actually didn't do in this entire situation. So if you get a close below 335, I think it's a foregone conclusion. You're going to get to 320-ish, 321. But until that happens, this could actually just go sideways for right now.
So the peaks of the mountain range, are those support or resistance on the peaks?
Both, right? So it's resistance if it's above the current price level, and it's support if it's below the current price level.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So right now, this has been resistance right now. So that support is actually, it's literally on that same gap, right? It's at 320s.
Right.
And then below that, see that this is kind of what happens.
Okay. Can we do a name that did not get any love after earnings, which is NVIDIA?
How do you feel about NVIDIA?
I feel fine after their earnings. I think the stock deserves to be closer to at least 150. But I do feel there's a little bit of a transition out of the semis into software names, and maybe that's what's dragging it down right now.
Well, I think that's glaringly obvious right now. I haven't looked at Snowflake lately, but I know it had a decent earnings reaction. I don't know if it held. So I'm just turning these lines up a little bit. Same thing. It's the volume profile on the right. Sometimes these get a little claustrophobic, like a lot of peaks and valleys. So maybe a little bit hard for some to read. But generally speaking, it's this. So this blue line is 140 on my screen. That is your current resistance. And right in here, around the 130s, like low 130s, I think is we're going to line it up to this peak right here. So we're below 140 right now, which is not like, it's not super good. We're in I would say this is a decent pullback. The simple moving averages, so we've talked about this over, I almost said years. How long have we been doing this?
I think this is like our 12th episode. I got to do the numbers again, but I think we're coming in on 20 episodes at least.
Nice. So over the weeks, months, whatever, when we talk about simple moving averages, we talk about not them being like dynamic support and resistance, which they can be, but it's really about the distance between them, right? And so what's notable right now is that over here, when we were coming off 116, the distance between the 20 and the 50-day simple moving average, this was expanding, right? Clearly, the distance was expanding. What's happening right now when you lose the 20, you kind of start to play this ping pong, typical ping pong between the 20 and the 50-day. There's a thing in sentiment where sometimes if you lose the 20, you tend to go to the 200. I don't see that happening. I can't trade for that right now at all. I don't see that happening yet. But what I do see is that, the distance, and it's clear, right? To me, the distance between these simple moving averages is contracting, right? So this is definitely going to go into like sleep mode for right now. And what's going to happen, even if this stays normal, you'll see kind of like this, right? It's like you'll see your 20-day come in a little bit. That's that white line. It'll come in, and your 50-day will be here. And at some point, you might have a cross between those two, but price action is literally going to do this. And it's going to be maybe a day when you open below that 50. Oops. And it might look like this. It could happen anytime, right? But if you have like an open below this blue line, this 50-day, that's going to be a rough day for NVIDIA.
Right.
But I don't know that, I wouldn't say that this whole trend is like completely out of track. If that happens though, and we'll go back to two charts, I would note, if that happens though, I wouldn't freak out. I would wait for, this is like like secret sauce. Secret sauce for technical stuff is that when you lose a major moving average like this, it's going to be in the short term, but what you're going to look for is a higher low. So you're going to start making lower highs and lower lows, but the second you get so you have to break over a prior day's high, and then you come back in and you're going to lock a lower low. It's still going to be underneath all your significant major averages, but it's literally like this. Not many people know this setup, but it's money. And it's going to look just like this. And this day, when you have something like this, well below these simple moving averages, you want to hammer this. Like hammer it. I don't know what price is going to be. 129 is a decent guess. If it does break down, if it never breaks down, look, it never breaks down and it breaks up.
You're not one of those 18 million because you don't love your brother, so you're not.
Well, I did go along the airlines, dude, and I did go along Boeing for the first time in a year.
Okay, yeah. We'll talk about Boeing.
I waited a full year to go long Boeing. Literally watched the chart for a year. And finally went long. And it was very similar to this kind of setup, but it's underneath all your major significant moving averages. Other, like prime time technicians will be like, oh, this is a downtrend. Look, it's going to bounce and it's going to go right back up to those. And that, you wouldn't buy that weakness when you see a higher low, basically. Underneath your 50-day simple moving average, if you see a higher low, you slap it. Worst case scenario, this goes to 110, but look, you know, that's not anywhere in the cards. And the way that would actually happen is that the whole thing would get extended, and then you'd break this existing downtrend line. But if you notice, the lines that I drew, just happenstance, I didn't do this on purpose. I just connected these last two lows. This is your prevailing uptrend. A breakdown would actually probably tag this. So this is ending up to be about 130, and it's right in line here. So you would be retesting this prior resistance essentially in this area. So I'd be looking for a higher low in the 130s, which, I mean, that may happen after Thanksgiving.
So this question, Peter says, for those of us long-term not traders, should we view this as an entry point for dip? I don't think you think this is the dip yet on NVIDIA.
130?
Where it's at 136 right now. This is like this.
Not here, but the setup that I'm talking about, yeah.
130. Okay.
Yeah, if you're looking for that kind, it's not like it's going all in. From investing perspective, you don't try to pick the bottom. That's more like a DCA point, right? Like assuming that you're already doing like a quarterly buy on NVIDIA, it's a spot, right? Because it's right inside this massive consolidation. What I'll do then in this case is I'm going to take this entire range from, let's say, May 2024 to here. And I'm going to draw, basically, this is your volume weighted average price for this entire breakout from your major quarter over here. That also brings you to 120, right? So it would be 130, basically $10 every $10, if that makes sense, because the lowest one was 110. So 130, 120, 110. Those are points of reference that if what I'm going to be looking for is if the stock gets to that level, okay, then I'll look for a reversal day, which is like we were talking about earlier, you know, making the lows of the day early, closing on the highs, and also above, yes, the prior day's high. And if you're investing, you might want to do it on a weekly basis, right? So this would be, you know, that would actually just be a pretty clean retest right in that 130 on a weekly chart right over here. But I don't think this goes like breakout movement, because this is consolidation for a bit.
Okay, so we have a lot of other tickers. We're gonna get to all of them, guys. I don't know.
So I just
yeah, I was gonna say let's. You want to talk about? I was gonna say let's do Bitcoin and just get that out of the way.
We will, but I was gonna reference these moving averages that we just talked about. Look at how tight they are on Microsoft.
Right.
Tight. Right. This is totally different than NVIDIA. So when we see setups like this, and remember when I said you're looking for a higher low. So even though this is just as an example, right? So you see this, like this is technically a series of lower lows, right? Lower low, very slightly lower lows below all significant major moving averages. But the day that you get, so if this is that prior day high, the day you make a new high and you lock a higher low, boom. That's the day you hammer.
Because that essentially acts as a floor, theoretically.
Well, this is the day it becomes a slingshot, like an absolute slingshot. And so now what's going to happen? If Microsoft goes any higher, what's going to happen to these simple moving averages? They're all going to start expanding, right? So like 200 is going to continue to do what it does. Right? The 50-day is all of a sudden going to start to cross over, and the 20-day is going to cross, and you're going to get a massive range expansion here. Something like Microsoft has been in consolidation for a very long time. So this is just a scenario of, hey, look, I'll just go to the daily. So I have so many lines. You were trending down. This is super tight. You're going to go into range expansion. And you're probably going to be looking at 450 plus very soon. Very, very soon. Maybe all-time highs. Maybe 500s. Actually, I haven't done this, taken this trade yet, but let's go ahead and do it. It's 500.
Huh.
So it's 500 on Microsoft.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of
for all you Microsoft bears.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is looking actually really juicy. like this is looking really good, Amit. Just anyways.
Look, I'm not buying Microsoft, but the technicals, you're right. I mean, it's consolidated for almost the full year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up 10% this year. It's not really.
Look at how tight this is. So the best, like most violent, clean trades are when your simple moving averages, look, they do that little fake out. They're like, ha, that's how they get you right there. And then boom, slingshot, right? And it's because what happens when you think about the market as like just a bunch of buyers and sellers, right? How many shorts were out there thinking that Microsoft was going to fail right there?
Yeah,
everybody that was short. Yeah,
stupid.
Everybody that's short Microsoft, if it goes any higher, is going to have to hammer like buy and cover that position real quick.
Yeah.
So anyways, and Meta's the same thing. We talked about this too, but it's just a little bit different, right? So you broke that below that 50-day and you get that higher, and actually ends up being like this right in here. This is daily. 555 we talked about. I think this continues to squeeze. I like this. So we're right here, right on the 20 and the 50. Look at how tight this is. When you get this, you go any higher, the shorts have to cover, even on these mega caps.
Okay, so we got a lot of other tickers, a lot of.
You want to use that Bitcoin? You want to get out of the way?
Yeah, get that out of the way, and then we'll get into a bunch of the other names.
So
in general, down from 99 to 91. Are you thinking that's bullish, bearish? How are you thinking of it?
No, I think we called this exactly how this went down, right? I think we talked about it last week and we said we're going to get really damn close to 100. I think I said 98.2 or something, 98.3. And then I said it's going to stop like right there.
Pretty much did, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I said.
Do you think it's going to be a fun Thanksgiving or not a fun Thanksgiving for Bitcoin? Like 85 would not be fun.
I mean, for the last month, I've been talking about this alt season thing. I think this could be the setup. So first of all, I think this is a good spot right here, right now on Bitcoin. I'll show you why. Actually, let me just go ahead and show you why. So if I'm just looking at Bitcoin, I'm going to pull this back to that prior breakout. So when we have this massive consolidation, I'm going to take just one of these tools again, do that. This is that volume weighted average price. So the average of the highest amount of volume was traded $90,547 on Bitcoin before this last break. And so we get these kind of breakout. And then if you've ever heard the term breakout retest, right? You get this breakout. We just showed you what that measurement on the breakout looks like. Actually, I don't know how I measured it. It might have been like this kind of breakout. Anyways. Something like that. So you have this breakout, retest. Get to the bottom. Oh yeah, there it is. 99,680 something. Breakout first gets there, and then you have a retest. But people don't always necessarily catch where the retest is. So here we are, just playing this tape forward. Again, all-time highs. You have to use this kind of setup to find that. So you get right there. Look at this, Amit. This is nasty accurate. Like, do you see that?
I mean, it's getting hit at 98.2 to 99, kind of what you said. And now it's
so we just measured it without knowing, but I just measured this, and then that's what ended up happening. So here we are. So this is, by definition, the retest, right? So you don't have to chase the breakout, but we just said this yellow line that I drew right here, the majority of the volume before the breakout was accumulated right at 90K. So I think this is a decent retest area. So can it go a little bit lower? Yes. I think this volume shelf, this mountain range, you look at it somewhere from here to here. That's where you are. So that takes you just under 90 down to 87, high 87s.
Which would freak everyone out, but that's what Bitcoin's supposed to do, right?
Bingo. This looks like it looks like a lot of anticipation into that, holiday dinner moment. And so back to where I was just talking about a second ago is that this season, I just feel like, we already got our texts and stuff from our brothers, sisters, moms, dads, like, hey, do you still have your Bitcoin? How's it going? Like, that thing's going all crazy. I have this sneaky suspicion, again, total prognostication, whatever, conjecture here, that maybe the conversation goes a little like this. Well, if it's not Bitcoin, what is it? And then you get into the Ethereum, Solanas, and all the others,
Right?
Because Bitcoin's already made the move. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to chase it. What else is good? And you start having that conversation, which brings us to like your Ethereums and stuff like that haven't, like, they're still building. They still look good. They're probably arguably better spots to take longs right now. And some of the other ones. I don't know. We've talked about a couple. We talked about, can I talk about this stuff? These are not memes. I don't do memes. I only do like things that are like a ecosystem.
You're not buying Hawktua? You're not buying that one?
I think you should buy Hawktua, dude. Let's go. Hawk. Right.
Well, the thing is, there's people that have already loaded up that coin at 0.00, and they're ready to.
Oh, it's already trading?
Well, no, it's not already trading, but we already know the way these rug pulls work is people have loaded up their bags.
Wow. You have some serious, I'm reading the chat right now. You have some serious OGs in here.
Yeah, no, people
Archie, or like if you even know what Neo is, like, my hat's off to you, dude. It's the fact that you even know what Neo is, that means you're old school, because people won't know that. But Algo, again, I think still has a thing. Mine, has been Avalanche fastest blockchain measured by time to finality. We've been talking about this since in this area. Look, we're already up, and this is why in the course of the last 20 days, these are doubling already. These are not meme coins. They're what we call hyperscale layer 1. I think you're good, right? But I think you could probably also take a dart and throw it, right? Link, sure. Like, you've doubled. But, this is, and we could see this like the day when Bitcoin was going down initially, this first move lower on Bitcoin. What wasn't down, right? Your Solanas were not down, right? Your Ethereums were not down. So I think this is the definition that we were talking about, Bitcoin dominance failing, right? Or waning. So when Bitcoin starts to lose that the juice and the others are still holding strength, doesn't mean that Bitcoin's a short, but it means that the wealth is spreading within the cryptoverse.
Right.
All right.
Okay, can we do SOFI, which had a new 52-week high?
We are long and strong.
You're really liking this name. You're really long now.
I mean, it was so equity. I'm not thinking about trading. Like, to me, this whole thing when we were down here, this was all equity trading, and then it wasn't until recently when I think both of us. I know you had your leap spread on.
Yeah.
And then I saw your leap spread and I raised you just a straight up leap with an extra year.
Yep.
Right. And I think they're both doing just fine, right? So I'm gonna take these. Actually, let me go back to that. So just turning on these moving averages. We talk about this a lot. I'll do it one more time. When
Bitcoin guys, by the way, back to 92 after hours right now.
Yeah, so I will say that this is the spot, right? Here's my chart. We literally just measured this. I meant we could do it again. Open up your broker, your Robinhood, buy some more Bitcoin.
I bought enough HOOD today, so that's
all right, we can do HOOD. So, I mean, this is clear expansion, right? So, sorry, every time I adjust this, the freaking opacity changes, so you can't really see it as well. But clearly, this is that expansion mode. So do you see the difference, guys? When we're talking about like when you get like velocity type moves, this is range expansion between your simple moving averages. That's what we're really looking for. It can be well above, that's fine, but we don't see this in NVIDIA right now. So it's a very different look, right? So NVIDIA's got to chill. Like let that breathe. Those simple moving averages will come in together. Like it's taken Microsoft to get this tight. It's taken them a freaking year, right? But now it's Microsoft's turn. Now it's Meta's turn, but it's not. NVIDIA can chillax, right? but it's really Anthony Noto's turn because this thing is just getting nasty, man. So let's clean this up just a little bit. So there's a big pivot right in here. So I got to go all the way back to inception on SOFI. And this was kind of like, do you know what the IPO price was? Or was this
was 20
SPAC?
in the 20s
20
was the SPAC, I think. Or it might have been $10 and it might have shot up to 20.
Do you know what his average price is?
No,
because he was buying heavy. And this was a whole story. In this flush, this entire time here, he was buying his own stock. He was buying his own stock in large form. All of this. And so I don't even think that he is green yet.
No, I think he is green because he bought at 14, 15, but he bought a lot at 4 to 7.
$10 average.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's green.
I have to look back. Because I remember seeing this stuff and he was getting like, $17, $20 buys. Like this is, and I'm like, way.
I think I actually have a picture that DDI posted and that's
CEOs. Yeah, I can't go further. I'd have to open in Edgar.
No, let me show you. There's here you go. This is a good one. So no, he's up a lot. Look at this. So he bought the highest price he ever paid was $14.46. Lowest price lowest price was $4.42. So he bought the shares for $15 million. They're worth about $45 million today.
So I remember this. So it was 14s, I think, is where I was thinking. Like he started really buying, and it was like heavy, and he just continued to hammer and hammer and hammer. So like, okay, so if he's finally green with an average price of 10 per Josh, that looks good. I mean, he's a happy camper. I think we could probably watch to see if he starts to sell.
I don't think he's selling, bro.
I don't think so. But that's the thing, right? I think that's my point. I don't think he's selling. And I definitely don't think that the market thinks he's selling. So if he does sell, that might be a little bit of a shocker, right? So that's one thing just to be on the watch for. But to me, $14, that was like that initial target. And then you're starting to extend. I think you go right in here. And so it's 18. 18 is this midpoint. I think that's where you go next. And honestly, I'm just going to change this to a monthly scale. So you remember I said, we don't look at this. So on a monthly scale, it's not that old of a stock. You're finally getting this is an oscillator, some really crazy squeezy momentum. You guys look at Amit right now, how he's like leaning back and like relaxed because he's so long right now. He's happy. If you get one, so remember I said not the third try, but typically the fourth. If you really stretch this is going to be the fourth shot at this 25. And this is the best. This is that market sentiment, market scenario. I'm a firm believer, like rates will probably be coming down over the next couple of years. This is long-term, just so you know. But yeah, I think eventually next year,
Noto's PSUs are at 45.
Yeah.
By 2026. So he wants 40 pretty badly.
So I think this cracks 25 sometime late next year, something like that, right? But I think we got a winner on our hands, dude.
Yeah, the only way they mess up is if defaults or delinquencies go up, but that already kind of peaked for them in March. The tech platform, even if it doesn't grow a ton, I think the loan business will grow enough.
I think it's all about the loan business, right? Like if it's for me, it's been that, right? Like if we start getting refinances and stuff like that on your student loans, yeah, 25, 35, 45. So 25 is going to be the big deal, right? That's the big deal level. That's right up in here. First stop, 18. Just keep it in check, right? So we get to 18. If we breach 18, it could be a quick move into the mid 20s. But 18 is going to be a big, heavy wall near term.
Also, Kathy sold 480,000 shares yesterday. So
that's probably a buy.
I'm just saying she's getting rid of it and she's buying like a lot of random stuff. AMD and Amazon, which maybe are obviously safer names, but Amazon is. But yeah, we are seeing some people take some profits here, but momentum is pretty strong.
I mean, so like at this point, even if you bought recently, like I'm a recent shareholder. I say recent within like this, like $7. Like I wasn't a big like guy. It was literally right in here, like $6-7. What is my ad? Yeah.
Also, yeah, after another billion in market cap, they could get into the S&P next year, and that would be huge. By the end of the year, I probably would be the September
750s. I've averaged. So I'm a high average probably for most people, but I'm at a double. So like when active traders get in, if you get to a double, they tend to start trimming, right? If you see people that were in the 6s get to 18, I think you might see some trimming happening. So we could see some consolidation because they can pull their principal out and let the rest ride essentially if they wanted to. But
right.
But I just don't see any reason to sell. Yes, it's steep and uncorrected, but like it's a huge base. This is the definition of like the longer the base, the higher in space kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Can we do SMCI? People really want that one. Let's get that one out of the way.
So I went long SMCI.
Right? Oh, you went long? Okay.
Yeah. So first of all, I sent it in our investing thing initially, and I'm really second guessing that because like it's not that I just don't, I'm not a fan of the leadership, right? And so like I'm not a big fan of like, look, I worked with SMCI for years in the enterprise. Like I'm just not a big fan of the leadership, but I do think that recent like rug pull was overdone. And I do think that they have a good product. The only reason it may not go in my real investment bucket is because of the leadership. But anyways,
so you took it on as a trade, essentially.
I took it on because it was a good level as an investment if you really liked this as an investment. But the more that I thought about it, I was like, I invest in companies where I really love their leadership initially. And I have like a massive, like ideally I have a big turnaround story, but it's really, it was a great spot as an investment entry if you liked it. But then the more I thought about it, for me personally, it might not be that investment quality, but the product I believe is a good product, if that makes sense. And I think that it continues to do well. So here's where we are. This is that I didn't remember what this is. This was them pulling they got rugged by their
Ernst & Young.
Right. And just continue to bleed out. I got long, actually like right in here, like in the 20s, believe it or not, literally just based off of, I think it was something here. Yeah. One of these small shot. I think it was this day, $20. And we were reclaiming essentially here. So it's the same thing, right? So nothing but lower lows and lower highs all through here. And then this is what I say, like this reversal setup. It wasn't this day, but it was this day. This day you have a big gap up. You're clearly over that prior day highs.
Right.
And you make the lows in the morning. You close towards the highs. That's a day, right? That's a reversal day.
That's actually, it's really smart to be able to see these things. I mean, this can help even whether you like SMCI or not.
I can say it simply, but like putting it into practice, this takes years to be able to recognize like, boom, right? 100%. Like we're in. We could do Boeing, it was the same thing, but you stock this right for a while, and then you wait, and then there it is. And then I think at this point, the reason I'm even saying this is because I think it's hit its near-term trajectory to the upside. So from here, so we go swing high means that like longer term high, swing high here to this swing low, you're at that pretty much like golden pocket retracement right here. So we've hit really that primary target from that bounce trade. So I think at this point it can pull back a little bit, and where it would pull back to, you kind of do the same thing, but you just do it reverse. So it's going to be right into this area. So first of all, again, peaks and valleys, my mountain range here. This right here is that first area. So we have a little gap up. So that's got to fill. To me, this comes down to 33 for sure. But it's really this area here. That's a clean retest. So if you do see it coming back in anywhere below 30s and you're interested in owning the stock, then I think you look for that to kind of base in that area and lock in a higher low from a longer term perspective like this. And then that next shot would bring it into the 50s potentially. So you can look at this a little bit more simply on a weekly scale. It looks like this.
So do you like it here as an initial entry, or move's already happened?
I think the near-term move has already happened. I like it on a red day. If you do like this stock, I'm just personally not so sure how I feel about it. I like the tech. I like the product. I don't think this goes anywhere. I just think it was a little overdone.
Yeah.
You know, if there's like some change in management, then I really like it. Like really, really like it. But I don't have that. What's our market cap? 20 billion. See, I think that's pretty fair. So that's my only thing. It's like, I think it's pretty fair to chop somewhere between $30 and $50 for like a year. So that's where I don't know that it really breaks out.
Right.
But we'll see.
Can we do MicroStrategy?
Is it going up or
before
down?
we do that, can everyone please make sure to follow Jason on Twitter, because he spends like 3 hours with us every single week and breaks all of this down for us. We'll get through all the other tickers, but there's his Twitter in the chat. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on what's happening? And does the TA look like we're going back to 500? This is the most crazy thing in the financial markets that I've ever seen.
So what's the
craziest thing you've ever seen, right? You've been doing this for like 20 years. This has got to be the craziest thing.
No, I've seen crazy stuff. This isn't crazy, but I remember I come from crypto, but you know, I think the storyline around MSTR, first of all, you got to be a Michael Saylor fan, right? The storyline about MSTR was that it was a unique Ponzi, right?
Yeah.
It was unique. We know it's a Ponzi. There's no question in my mind that it's not a Ponzi. And if there is a question in your mind, well, you know, that's a different conversation. But, you know, you can make a lot of money in a Ponzi, right? Like you really can. You really can. Just ask some of your members here that were clearly part of BitConnect, right? Since they know what NEO is. So they know what BitConnect is. And so that's crazy. I've seen crazy. If you don't know what that is, look it up. You'll be like, holy shit. You know,
you're a guy who understands volatility really well. The volatility is the game on MicroStrategy. So do you think
the game?
Well, I think the premium on the net asset value is based on the volatility from the convertible debt. So my question is, if Bitcoin does get to 120, which I think is one of your targets over the next couple months, does this stock easily
120?
Yeah, you said if it goes from 85, 120, you kind of said that last week.
MSTR?
No, Bitcoin.
Oh, Bitcoin. Yeah.
So if we get, my question is, if we get to 120, is it likely this thing's above 600-700?
That's where I think this story is disconnecting. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this. So MSTR MicroStrategy, I think, was like a very unique Ponzi, but I think that uniqueness is fading now, right? And that's where I think the story starts to fall apart a little bit. I don't think that he's selling his Bitcoin, right? But that's when you really do question, does it deserve the 3-4x multiple against NAV, right? And so if it's really not that unique, so we had Hut 8 mining has already done the putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I think if you see a lot of these other miners start to do this, what really makes MSTR so special over somebody that actually mines Bitcoin, putting it on their balance sheet? That, I think, is the real question that you need to ask. It's not a question of whether or not this goes up or down, but it's that premium. Does it deserve the 3-4x multiple on NAV? So
on the technicals alone, it's hard to do technicals on this, right? Because
no.
Because my point is, it goes up and down so much that's disconnected from Bitcoin going up and down. How do you actually
look at it this way? We just did Palantir, and we also did Tesla, and we had this exhaustion day, right? We have the exact same setup. Our targets, by the way, when last week when you asked me, I think it was here or whatever it was for the extension. It took me to like over 500, just over 500. Really, this whole thing is a pretty solid extension somewhere. Anyways, you could have gotten to 540 almost to the penny using that same extension stuff. But so this is where it took me, just over 515, I think I said. I actually had some friends call 540 to the penny, but we got there. The thing is that when you see this kind of extension pullback, the difference here on MSTR versus a Tesla versus, let's say, Palantir, we can do a Palantir comparison really quick, right? So check out the lows of that exhaustion day. That's 372 on the exhaustion day. Palantir's exhaustion day, you see the difference already?
Yeah.
This is a problem. If MicroStrategy was to continue on, you would have seen immediate buyers step in and hold. You did see immediate buyers step in, but what today, this violent break in the back half of the day, remember, opening at the, like putting the highs in at the beginning and closing on the lows is not, it's the same thing, but opposite of like putting the lows in early and closing on the highs. If I inverse this chart, that's an inverse. If this was a chart, I would say this is a long, right? I just flipped the chart upside down. You would all probably say this is a long. You lock the lows in early, you close on the highs, you broke prior resistance. This is going higher. Here's the real chart. This is a short. So
using at these levels, MSTR is a short.
Yeah. So this is short. One saving grace is a 20-day. So let's flip these simple moving averages on. Sorry to whoever said they were irresponsibly long. I feel you, right? Like I think I wouldn't be going long with like leverage. If that makes sense. Here it is. So you get 20-day simple moving average. This is that white line right here. You're still over it, and we still have this range expansion from the to go short immediately.
I just had to get something from the back of the room, so I left for a second. He's like, "Oh, Amit just going." Jason says the short, Amit's going. I'm actually surprised you say it's a short. I think a lot of people think this is an easy dip on a flush on Bitcoin, and they're going long here.
I just don't think it's that unique. I could be. I hope for anybody that's long that I'm wrong. What I will say is I'll give you an option. If it was me, and I really thought about it too, I was like, really, so what we need to see tomorrow, a short is invalidated tomorrow if we make the lows early and close over that yellow line, 372. A short is immediately invalidated this week or whatever, and I will probably be long if I get that setup. But I don't have it yet. Does that make sense? In the event that I do go long, I will probably not. Do you want me to? I might at you, but I will do this. I will also at the same time buy call options on MSTZ in the money call options as a hedge, because I don't want to go long this without being hedged, if that makes sense. So this is a 2x leverage, and you guys may not, but here's a good example of how to use leverage tickers. If I want to be long MSTR, this is a 2x inverse MSTR ETF by RKLB, which is a friend of whatever, but this is super liquid. I would be buying $1 call options in the money because I don't have to I don't have to outlay a full 100, but as a leverage play on leverage, if MSTR falls apart, you have to do your own calculations, figure out how much you need to do. But I would do that as my hedge. Yeah. And that would be a percentage of my MSTR protection. And that's how I would do it. I would not sell covered calls. I would definitely not sell puts on MSTR. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that if you lose this area, I am short MSTR. I think if you lose this area, it's going to be clear at the 20-day simple moving average. And you have a like first stop here, 270 for the session gap. We gapped up here this day. I think this happens, but I don't really see. So that's 270. I don't really see why it doesn't come into the 250 area.
For them to trade at 1x their NAV, I think 170 to 200 would be like
right
fair value.
So I think if the story wanes, so like to be long here now, I get for a lot of people. The thing is that I actually don't have a trigger. So like my trigger is like, you got to close over. Just because it gets to a level doesn't mean I buy something, right? It is at a level of interest, right? Like right around the 320 area. But it's not like, oh, I need to get this right away. I think my biggest concern is really just how special is this story anymore.
Right.
That's my thing. So maybe it's not like, if it's not special, yeah, I think it goes.
I agree. The story might be losing some of its specialness, but I still think if Bitcoin goes to 150, everyone who loves MSTR, they're not going to give a shit about the premium. They're going to pile in. And I think
let me ask you a question. Do you think those people know about BITX and the leveraged Bitcoin tickers now?
So yes, but I think MSTR is a cult. And I looked at their Reddit groups. I look at the Twitter groups.
Well, yeah, no, I have to agree because they've made a lot of people a lot of money. A lot of people have made a lot of money.
Yes, and they went against the grain, right? Everyone said MSTR was a piece of shit at like $50 this year. It's at 500, right? 300. So I think they're convinced of the story. And Michael Saylor, he has a big following. I think people are buying this up if Bitcoin goes higher, even though BitX might be better, theoretically. So
Arun is saying, why am I talking about 20-day when my chart is on a 30? So when I use simple moving averages, I lock my interval. Most of you guys, most people, when they're charting, they just throw on a moving average, and the default time frame is chart, right? It's default to chart like this. And he's right. If I had a chart, if that was set to chart, it looks like this. I don't care about that. I only care about the daily simple moving average. So I go into interval time frame and I lock it on the daily time frame. That way, if I toggle time frames, watch these levels. If I go to a 3-hour chart, it's in the same spot, right? If I go to a 30-minute chart, it's in the same spot. 1-hour chart, they're not moving. I don't want these things to move based on the time interval of my chart. It's got to be in the same spot fixed. So they're always locked on the daily interval. So that's why. That's actually a really important distinction because it may have thrown other people off.
All right. So ultimately, you're not super long MSTR right now, but you could be if it gets to more of that $200 range. Can we do Rocket Lab?
Oh, dude.
This
thing just keep going. This looks good, but another shot. I always have after hours trade on because we can see this stuff. Palantir, same thing. So if you don't have after hours on and you're just looking at daily, you can't see it. It doesn't look the same. So I think this looks really constructive. 28 is that
28.
Dude. We're uncharted.
I mean, there's no volume shelf resistance and there's price discovery, right?
So we have to do it this way, right? So let's measure this. So this consolidation high to here. Okay. I bet. So this is exactly what we were saying. So the way this works, right? So you get your breakout. So all this is the box. It's the same box. We just did this on Palantir, but when I measured it, I said there's a halfway point. So here's the double of the box here. So here's your box. If you double the box, oh my God, it gets right into 28s. But there's a halfway point where it'll take a little stutter step. That's what's happening right here. So this stutter step is good. Give it 2 more shots at 2670. So maybe not this next one, then maybe it pulls back and puts in another higher low. Then it goes. And then, so that is 28. In this instance, I actually would call for the 35s because it's such a, like a, it's a low float.
How much is the float? How many shares are there? There are 500 million. Yeah, you're right.
It's a low float, right? It's a new kind of momentum. What's the short interest on this?
I will check. I think it's just under 10%. Let me check to make sure. Rocket Lab shorts, people shorting Peter Beck are, 17%.
It definitely 35. So you get close to that 20% short on a low float in an uptrend, those 3 things, right? So you have a clear uptrend, 20% short, low float, you get parabolic squeezes. This is your AMC GME. So maybe 35 is not it.
Dude, if Wall Street Bets was going to take this stock anywhere, I mean, it's a rocket emoji. Like, like
right.
that's like this is the name, right? Like,
bro. I haven't sold any Rocket Lab. And I'm like, wait, this position that started out as peanuts is becoming real. I'm like, what is happening?
Well, also, as Carl says right here, they are 10 cents away from profitability. And we know what happens when these companies get profitable and they're growing. Dude, they're growing triple digits next quarter. That's what they're guiding for, 125% growth.
I just don't know why we didn't just we talked about it. We didn't we didn't have time, didn't have time. But anyways, I'm happy I have what I have. I hope it doesn't become an unmanageable position or unruly position, but it's creeping up there. Not intentionally.
Can we do Amazon?
I love Amazon. Did you buy the dip? So first of all, this Black Friday thing, I feel like has been their best executed Black Friday in many, many years. I can't I bought so much freaking stuff on Amazon. It's almost wild right now. And that never really happens to me. I don't know if it's their algorithms are getting better or what. But their recommendations before the recommendation was hey, here's this new knick-knack, made in China. And I'm I have no interest in buying this, but now it's I actually get good things. So anyways, so looking at the all-time high level right here, right? So I did say a real retracement would have been 190s and this whole thing would have still been intact. This is a monthly time frame chart. So we are this is a big deal. I'm going to take these simple moving averages off for just a minute. All-time high trajectory here, but let's do the same thing on a much larger range. And this is literally how I would get to this. Monthly chart is solid. It's intact. There's no question here. This could take a really long time to play out. Your first step is just like everything else we've done. But to get there, it's 250s, actually high 250s. From there, it is 300s, which would take you just under 300, 295s. So I think 295s is within range. That's all I'm going to talk about for right now. The daily time frame back to with the simple moving averages on it. Sorry, you know what? I will do a couple things. So I got this yellow line. This is I believe monthly high. Yeah. So this is last month's candle. So we actually did a clean retest of last month's high 4 days ago, right here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, this day, very clean 196 happens to be a retest of this breakout. When I put this view like this, you guys probably can see where it's a breakout retest right there on the monthly scale. So if this is your monthly range last month, you're about 50% of that up. Or actually, you almost doubled it. And then you get a clean retest right in there. So this trend fully intact. When we talked about these simple moving averages, clearly expansion mode here. I'm going to take those lines off just for a second. And we talked about what does it look like. So you get that, break of the prior day high, you lock a higher low. That's yesterday. So yesterday was definitively to go long, higher low below a moving average. You're probably going to break through. I think this momentum stays. You're going to get to 210, give or take, and you're going to hit what's called a fair value right here from Amazon's exhaustion day. Does that make sense?
Right.
So we may not breach all the way. You have 2 in here to 214s, but you can see this kind of trajectory happen potentially like this, and then pull back, and then continue on. But I think this is fully intact. This is a name that you want to be long into next year, definitively. After however long of a breakout or consolidation, rather. So over a year of consolidation on Amazon, let's call it from here, 265 days, call it a year, right? You're going to get essentially this entire consolidation. I think that.
Look, Amazon's not giving anyone any reason. Amazon's not giving you a reason to believe they're not going to keep executing outside of a recession.
No, I think it's. I think it. Oh, look, there's a good trade back there. I think it's more like AWS has always been the thing, but and for me, and this is just my personal story, like I've never really wanted to be long Amazon.com, but I think it's, you've always wanted Amazon for AWS historically over the last decade or so. I think that story might start to change where you actually really want to be long Amazon for Amazon.com all of a sudden, if they really turn these efficiencies around, right? Like being able to make real money on the e-commerce piece is a huge paradigm shift for the fundamentals of the stock or valuation of the stock. It's a massive paradigm shift. So I think that actually becomes a driver here, not just because AWS may be, that's just going to be what it is, but I don't know that it's going to have the growth potential that the e-commerce piece will have. So, but it's not slowing, that's for sure. But anyway, same thing. So these simple moving averages, actually a little bit healthier, clearly starting to expand. I say clearly, but they are starting to expand in an upwards direction. This is more than healthy. It's very, very good. I think we see 250 early next year, and then on to 300s. I want to see mid-year, but this is from a technical perspective. I would trade for that. I am trading. You trade for this,
right? Can we do?
This is like leap territory.
Yeah. Can we do hood?
I like it. Actually, really, I have so many lines on this. What's going on? So here's our old box. What is this box from?
We did break IPO price and then broke above that. And now I think we're consolidating from 34 to 36. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But also if Bitcoin goes up, then maybe we get back to
Well, hood's always had that thing. I've never really cared to have it for
crypto.
Yeah. But it's always been kind of like that free call option, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So weekly scale for sure. Over here, this area, like barely a blip on the radar, man. And then we are right back in here. So $40, we knew, to me, is going to be kind of like the target. We're really getting there. We'll just take that whole first week of trade right here on hood. I think this goes. It's a tough one to trade near term because it's kind of in that weird spot. If you like, this is where I think you can. Again, look, simple moving averages. This is healthy, right? Yes, there's a gap here, guys. Nobody cares about this stuff. Don't pay attention to these like that. Yeah, this already got a retest. So when I say this, sorry, this is what I'm looking at. So this prior consolidation, we'll just take this recent. and exhaustions. So this was already retested here. So breakout, retest, extension, 50% or 100% of this consolidation tagged. It is here. It is here. It is now. $36. That's it. You have a little session gap here that's filled.
Oh yeah, that was filled today, right?
Yeah, I think if you, I think it's now.
I agree with you, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you saw the acquisition that they did, trade PMR. I mean, just everything they're doing, and they have an investor day in 2 weeks. The investors are going to get to hear a lot about their vision over the next 10 years. And then you have November trading volumes, which I don't know, dude. I think they could be better than October, given what's happened this month.
Yeah, what days are those coming out? So Hood might go back into that moment where like it goes sideways until it does those monthly releases.
Yeah.
So we just have to know, you guys have to make sure you have alerts on amidst Twitter. So if you have noties on, then he starts to do his post. You got to give us the 24-hour warning. Don't give us the notice that it's coming out tomorrow if it's coming out tomorrow in the aftermarket. Right? Like,
that's because you messed up one day.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me, man. Right? I need to know when it's coming out, like the session before, right? Like if it's coming out today aftermarket, tell me that in the morning.
Okay, so you think 40 is your near-term target on Hood right now?
Oh yeah. Well, 42. 42. Yeah, I got to figure out what to do with my leap spreads because I have a limit close at 250 on them, which is like 50% of the value. I think they get very spready. Like if you're in leap spreads, debit spreads, you'll see like one day it's like it whips around like because it's all bid ass spread stuff. I think $5 spread is too tight for Robinhood at this point, personally.
Yeah, I have a $3 one for 2027 as well.
Yeah, so I don't think so. I think we're fairly maxed out there. But look, if I do get a dip to buy, it's gonna be a little deeper. Like the thing about where I am with Hood is probably where you were with Palantir forever. It's just like I don't even care. Yeah, I'm just buying. Like it's good. If I do see something around 35s, like low 35s, mid 34s, and I see it holding, it's okay. I probably wouldn't even buy that because like if it dips, here's the thing, if it dips any lower, I wouldn't buy it right away. I would actually wait for it to breach and I would wait for it to come into the 30s.
Yeah.
Because
I think puts at 30s is also not a horrible.
Yeah. So like if it loses this 36 and starts the trajectory, this 34.50, I just don't think it's going to hold, right? Because it already won two. Maybe it'll bounce once, but if it comes at it, like we're just talking about, if it comes at it a fourth time, that's not going to be cool.
Yeah.
So, it's like you're trying to, it's like a battering ram against a wall, right? It takes 4 tries. So, if it's a fourth shot that usually cracks through, and that deep would actually be 32s.
And the easiest thing that could get that to happen is Bitcoin to 80,000. That could easily get that to happen.
You think so? I like 32.
But 32 to me is still amazing because it's up, a ton this year. So like,
yeah,
in the 30s, I like it. These 37s and 39s is amazing, and I think that's momentum. But if we consolidate back into 30 to 33 or 34, I think that's
fine. At 32, what I'll probably do is I'll start layering just outright calls, like for leaps, if that makes sense, on top of the spread.
Yeah. Okay, can we do we got a lot of tickers. Let me pick one of these. Can we do Dell? Which is down right now.
So look at this, 127. I told my buddy that was underpriced, and
is that 127?
He was gonna go only long, and I was like, I love Dell. I'm long Dell the stock, but I'm just gonna tell you it's underpriced, and it makes a $20 average move. And it was priced for $13.50, and I was like, it moves $20. And here we are.
Did you have puts on this one before earnings or no?
$14. No, I didn't trade it because like I didn't want to take a directional bet. But 130 was my low. And I think I like the story. I think they missed revenue, but it was it a recognized?
I don't know if it was a very small miss, like
on the recognized or bookings.
No, definitely recognized. Bookings, they're beating.
So I think that's the story, right? The bookings, I think was a 50%.
Yeah.
Was it?
And AI revenues, I think was like 45% or something.
So that's a big deal. I think so. Dell won. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dell is always crashing on earnings. There you go.
I mean, it really does. Every time it takes a hit.
Dell won the XAI build, I believe.
Yes.
So they had what's called a bake-off. In the enterprise, we call it a bake-off, where like you have a big, large project, and I have two competing vendors, Dell and Supermicro. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first phase, small build, a first phase, and I'm going to split the build out half between Dell, half between Supermicro. And as far as I know, that build went to Dell, like they won moving forward. So that's going to be their bookings number. And there's a difference. And so I think the market realized that they won the XAI build. And we're probably looking for that to be on this report because that was a while ago. But even if they've received a purchase order, even if Dell has received a purchase order, it doesn't show up on on an earnings report because they don't get to recognize the revenue until product lands at the customer site. And that could be a really long, drawn out build. So I think that pull forward a little bit into 145s, but I think this is viable, dude. Because I think eventually, like, give it a little bit. This is the same thing. Their SMAs are expanding. They're gonna pull in a little bit. Let this base out. This is a decent retest, right? If you see it in the 120s, like 125s, are we there? 125.
127.
Yeah, this is not bad. I like this.
You think the AI thematic around GPUs, their server backlog is showing they have a ton of demand. You think that's the reason it's a buy at those levels?
So I think it's like this. It's like they've already booked the revenue, but they haven't recognized it. So the market was over their skis because they thought it was going to be on this earnings report. And quite frankly, even if it was, I would have said that this probably would have pulled back in that event because then what are you going to look forward to? But I think that the market's going to realize tomorrow that this revenue is coming. The revenue's coming for Dell. There's not really a question of it. It's just they didn't get to book as much as the market necessarily thought.
This is the problem I have with Dell. I just Command F margin. Nothing, bro. They don't fucking show the margin. Like, this is so annoying.
So I don't think the margin is going to be a good story, right?
Of course not. If you won't even put it in the press release, like.
Well, so margin is not going to be a good story because they don't want to lose to SMCI. Michael's not going to lose, right? The thing is, this is good gear. Like, they're not going to lose to SMCI, but I don't think moving forward they're going to have to play that battle as much, if that makes sense, because of like if certain companies can't even buy SMCI because they're no longer in the S&P or because of whatever accounting issues, sometimes you got to buy this stuff on credit. And if you can't, and the way that the money flow works is that SMCI has to go out and they have to buy all this stuff, right? And if they have accounting issues, I think it's a little tough. I don't think SMCI is going to lose business. I think they're going to keep what they have. But I think that Dell could, for the net new builds, have a leg up and not have to fight as much on the margin perspective and cut and dropping prices because it might be an easier pitch at this point. So right. I think it's a marginal margin increase. Still not going to be great. This is always single digit margin on servers. It is 6 to 8%. It's what we call the brick at Dell. If anybody actually works at Dell, you guys know what I'm talking about.
This guy said, I worked at Dell. Sales gives unnecessary fat discounts to hit targets.
Well, if he works at Dell, there's a brick in sales. You're never gonna break the brick, is what they say. So your brick is somewhere around 6%, give or take.
Wait, what exactly is the brick? Because I know a lot about bricks, but what do you mean?
No, the brick is just a minimum margin threshold that
Oh, okay.
that Dell has to hold. But no, I'm not saying SMCI is losing business either, is what I'm saying. I'm saying like the incremental business, I think Dell can actually make more money on.
Okay.
So that's why I did like SMCI too. But I love Dell, and that goes back to my fundamentals. Like, you know, I like Michael, right? Like, believe it or not, Dell's still a freaking founder-led company, which is crazy.
Yeah, and he did a lot of his selling already, so he's kind of, I don't think, too worried about selling. Can we do Intel?
Hey, what did they not lose something? Like, were they not like, what was it? Like some billions of dollars that they were their grants?
They got like $5 billion in grants, but they lost $500 million out of what the street.
Oh, okay. So that's a nothing burger. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mean, it's does our buddy still have all his like short puts and calls?
CJ has all of it. Yeah.
He's probably cleaning house, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, honestly, this is going sideways for a minute. As this got to get its legs. You can like these are actually getting tighter. I think so. 23. You might have to breach. If you look at this again, like Tesla, look, it couldn't get over the current amount of buyers. The current investor base was not enough to incrementally push this over 2678. So the market needs to entice, or Intel needs to entice new market participants to enter this stock. So I think you could dip it a little bit more. I'll do something really quick for you. This does look interesting. So this is your last break. This is interesting, dude. So breakout of this area. I'm not an Intel fan, but the setup it
is a nice setup. I agree.
The setup I just saw is somewhat intriguing. You get these, what we call like flags. So honestly, the first break of a flag is typically not sustained. So you get this move and it could go a little bit higher, but you get this retest. So you're not there yet. I think it's a little bit lower. What you don't want to see is a breach below. That's going down, and that's going to happen if you lose your 50-day simple moving average, which is sitting at 23.25. So I think, but to be fair, it's going to be a violent down, but that's also not going to be sustained down. Then you're going to be looking for your higher low, and at that point you take it. So in this area, I think this is a wait. Look for that 23 area and see how it reacts when you get there. That's going to be a retest of this broken downtrend, which is going to be good. And it's going to have confluence to be a retest of this prior breakout. And at 23.30, depending on when this gets there, it's also going to have your third point of confluence, which is your 50-day simple moving average. And if it does bounce up from the 50-day test, what's going to happen? And I'm just going to do my drawing thing. So your 20-day is going to come down a little bit. Your 50 is going to stay static. Your 20-day, if it bounces, right? Are you following? So you get this being long. It's not going to be instant bounce, and it's going to be that. And then at that point, that 20-day is going to start to curl, and then you're going to get some massive range expansion. So that's what has to happen. That's what it will look like if this goes down. It's a watch. It's not confirmed. It's not happening right now.
Right.
Because conversely, if we get that other event, right, and you get that breakdown, oops. This is why this is just the area of interest. If you get that, what's going to happen is you're going to get this. And that's going to happen. And you're going to have an expansion, but in the other direction, the wrong direction. This is setting up. It's a no touch for me, but it's the setup. Okay. Something's going to come.
Can we do Google?
I think it's a long right now. Today.
I think you're right.
Today.
Now, this is the first time you said you like Google, so I'm happy. because I think it makes sense.
So same thing. I mean, today is the day where I have that this is that setup that I was just talking about. On a 2 to 3 candles, 1, 2, 3 candles, fourth candle trigger go, right? So you're below that 50-day. You broke through today. I think you go, how long? TVD. I think this gets to 74s, and fills in this this headline news of the antitrust shenanigans or Chrome. I think this fills in just on a couple 1, 2, 3 day view. You had this high of basically 168 that you were dealing with. And I saw it this morning. So you're dealing with this area right here. And this is just a full-blown flusher, right? So right now what we're going to do is we're going to take really just half of this drawdown. That takes us to 170.45. So halfway point of that big drawdown, that's what really has to really reclaim. So we'll play this forward right now. So you're over the halfway point. You're right in here. So I think at this point tomorrow, the level is $170.50. $170.50. That's going to line up with, ooh, look at that. A prior gap right here and a pivot. And in that event, I think you see 174 in very short order, which Google doesn't usually move a whole lot in single sessions, but I think you see that in very short order. And I think this has been mostly de-risked at this point. So I don't think they're really going to buy the whole Chrome breakup. I think the market's starting to call bullshit on that right now. Oh yeah, I could pull this back and there's
what do you think like 200s is the long-term goal on this? The next year?
So the entire Mag 7 complex is in breakout mode, in active breakout mode. Entire complex right now.
Why? Just pure
technically speaking, dude.
I want to talk about Apple as well. Yeah. So let's talk about Apple with this as well. What are your thoughts here on
Well, I'm just saying. So we talked about Microsoft. We talked about Meta. We talked about Amazon. We can talk about Apple. I mean, this is just pretty. I don't know. So this is doing it right now. So I think this is the fourth shot on Apple. Whether or not you end up buying anything, I think this is 1, 2, 3, fourth shot on Apple at 237. I think this does go into 250s, high 250s, just around 260.
And
right
you
here.
think the Mag 7 complex is breaking out enough for Apple to just break out with it, essentially?
No, I think Apple is driving because Apple's starting to do this before a lot of the others. Apple was doing this the second that it was over 225, back over 225, is not failing, right? Microsoft just started today. Today is one day. Meta hasn't even really started. It's just barely starting, right? On a weekly. It was going down, right? Google hasn't done shit yet, right?
Yeah.
Apple driving, believe it or not. So if Apple goes, I think it's going to be the first, not the last. So if it was Apple being drug up by the others, it would be the last. So no, I don't think it's that. For whatever reason,
Yeah, because I don't think you know the reason why people are buying Apple. Because there's not really a reason outside of it's Apple. And so
I think it's holiday speculation.
It's not holiday, dude. The reason you buy Google is because it's massively oversold. The reason you buy Apple,
really,
is because you don't like paying $5 million for a banana. All right, so you want to pay $3 trillion for an apple. Okay, that's what's happening. Right, that's what's happening. That's a good one, right? I used that joke in the morning. Hopefully no one was in the morning, so they don't catch the double joke. But like you get my point, right? The holidays really that's why people are buying Apple. I just bought a new Mac, by the way. I'm contributing to Q4 revenue.
Are you?
Yeah, I just got a new Mac. I got my sister AirPods. Like, I'm contributing to it. I don't know if that's.
Dude, did I tell you? I did tell you last week I went to Walmart for like the first time in forever, but I didn't tell you, like, I heard on the loudspeaker, they're like $1 iPhone with activation. I was like, what? Like, what? I think that's happening.
I do think the holidays will be good though for Apple. So you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Maybe it's not a super cycle. Who knows? Oh. But it's good. My Best Buy got shellacked, but I think this ends up being de-risked also. I still like this. Sorry.
Okay. So that's Google and Apple. Let's do
look at that. That was probably a really good buy on Best Buy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, they had a slight miss, but overall.
Yeah, but nothing none of the holiday stuff was in this.
Yeah.
None of it. Anyways.
Can we do AMD?
Oh yeah. Did we do NVIDIA already? What have we done?
We've done Palantir, Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, Bitcoin, SoFi, SMCI, MicroStrategy, RKLB, Amazon, Hood, Dell, Intel, Google, Apple, and now AMD.
Boy,
and please follow Jason on Twitter because he's staying with us doing all these tickers, and we appreciate him doing it. We'll do hymns next.
This chart is just a mess. Look at this. I mean, just like, this is just a mess. So let me clean. This is ugly. I'm going to take these. So I just took these simple moving averages off because, so what's funny, all right, I'll keep them on for a little bit.
Chart is a mess. It's pretty
what can I do here to clean this up? I can do, watch this. I've taken the stock off. So this is just the simple moving averages. We were talking about like how to trade them with those simple moving averages. This is doing the exact thing that we're talking, expansion, but in the wrong direction. It's in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Are they bullish or bearish? I'm not really bullish here. Let me take them off for a second. We'll just go raw price action.
Because people are thinking of piling into this because it's down year to date. NVIDIA's up 200%, and that's kind of the catch-up play that people are thinking of, is what I'm seeing. But obviously, there's a reason why it's down, and that's because of growth.
But it's not even in the same sector.
Yeah, but it's people.
Well, I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? Like, there's not. That could be decades.
I mean, I agree that I don't like the name as much. Well, here's my question to you: is it oversold on the technicals?
Oversold is not a
like at 135. Is
oversold is not an opinion, right?
Yeah, I guess you would use RSI or something else to come to the conclusion.
No,
it's not oversold.
Oops. Okay, so if this is RSI, I'm not the chart. So like it's here. I'll tell you guys how to use this stuff. I use it on daily. You could use it on weekly. RSI is very hard because it changes with every different time interval that you're using.
What's the best one to use? Weekly or daily? Daily. Okay.
I don't like it in general as an indicator. Oscillators are never really indicators. So you have two lines on an RSI, right? One,
we'll do hymns and RIVN next, guys. We'll do those two.
Oh, RIVN.
Yeah, I know you should be happy about that one.
I'm not in it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
I'm not like in it. I just have a little, like, it's not even, I'm not trading it right now. We'll see. So, okay. So here's what I was going to say. So the stock, we look for divergence on oscillators, which means like if the oscillator itself is on a downward trajectory, see this, you can chart down here. So if the oscillator itself is making new lows, but the stock wasn't making new lows, that would be oversold. So that's what's called like bullish divergence on oscillators. So maybe Celsius, I'm guessing. Yeah, so Celsius, this is oversold. So see this right here? It's a big difference on the chart. So this was making new lows on the stock. The stock was making new lows. It's not a good buy zone. The stock was at new lows, but the oscillator was not. That is your divergence. Does this make sense? Way down here, this is technically oversold on Celsius, but look at where this is. So
it went down even though it was oversold.
Yeah, to me, oversold is just shenanigans, right? It's the biggest shenanigan thing. I absolutely hate this.
Oh, so people when people say oversold or overbought, you think
I think
you think they're amateurs, basically.
I think that yeah. It is
Are you calling me an amateur, Jason?
That is. Are you not? I love you. But it is my
you're
first,
right. You're right. When it comes to
that is my first reaction. Because oversold can provide a bounce. So to be fair, it did go down, but it went up first. So here's your oversold right here. It did bounce, to be fair, right? I will be fair. It did go up.
But then it crashed
right before it got shellacked down.
Wait, so why do people use oversold and overbought as a technical term then?
Dude, that I don't know. If there was an indicator that I would immediately throw, like the first indicator that I throw out is this one.
So you don't look at RSI at all?
No.
Wow.
But if I do, and you use any kind of oscillator, what I'm trying to point out right now is the only thing I would say that it's really useful for, like it has a real use for, and that's that divergence, right? So like, okay, we'll just use a horizontal line. So if this was the last low on the RSI down here, right?
They're saying you're using the wrong time frame. Are you? No, you're on daily. That's what you want.
I'm on daily.
Yeah, that's what you want. Okay. All right.
But that's my first gripe is that the look of RSI looks completely different whenever you flip a time frame. It looks completely different. But then you have a higher low on your RSI here. The stock price is making a lower low. So this is your first indication, like, okay, something's building, it's not there. And then you have it again, right? So like things can be oversold or overbought for a very long time. So right here, right now,
I think I know why people use it. It's the easiest form of analysis. Under 30, undersold or oversold. Above 70, overbought.
Yeah,
right?
but it's not a sustainable bounce, right? Yeah, it's not a sustainable bounce. I think that's where they really get in question. So if you're looking at this, honestly, it's the center line. It's this 50. At 50, if you're trending over 50, it's good, right? Like you're getting there. And then if you get these bounces like this, overbought, the best stocks, the best performance is in this overbought area, believe it or not. You get this over 50, you start trending, you get to 80, and you get this overbought, you get this bounce, like, and the chart is not even in view. I don't even know what it's going to look like, but this bounce right up here off of 80, I bet this bounce, and this is bearish divergence, probably, because now all of a sudden, are we doing a little TA class here?
That's what we do, right?
Look at that. That little bounce is a big bounce on the stock, and then you have the stock price making a higher high, but your RSI making a lower high. This is bearish divergence from an oscillator, from an RSI perspective. So bullish and bearish divergence, I think, are very useful from an RSI perspective. And it's when you lose that 70 area right in here, it's the same thing. So another bearish. So even this high, if you were using RSI, you could have seen it here.
So can we look at this on AMD? What is the RSI?
I can't believe this guy's making. Yeah, so we're not even over the center line. You're basing, but so yeah, I don't have it here. So that's why I was looking to see if we got it. The stock price is not, it's about in line. So I don't see any divergence here is what I was looking for. So I'm typically going to be looking for divergence. We don't have it. So even stock price lower at 122, RSI lower here at 30, right? Currently sitting at 40, but below 30 is oversold.
Okay.
But anyways, so that aside, sorry for that long tangent.
No, that was good. That was good.
I think this is your prevailing downtrend. So when I said like that first breakout, and this is technicals, right? So technical Tuesday, that first breakout doesn't usually last, and you can come in and what we were just looking at Intel, come in and you get this retest. I want to be really careful. If you're looking at Intel, look at AMD for something that could happen. You still get to that prior high level, you get a big rejection, and then you get back below. This is one right here where like you've reached below that prior downtrend. If I had our RSI, I would probably say that is going to be some bullish divergence on this kind of breach, but you get back up and you might start to toy with this, right? And right now where we are is that you're still rejecting. So you want it to get a little bit further away from these trend lines, to be fair, because they could just end up, the stocks can end up just hugging those trend lines and really not making massive solutions or moves, and you end up just being a slow grind channel down like this. So right now, that's where we are. I'd say 142 is your pivot at the moment, 141.80 something. So if you have a close over that, and the bulls are, and I have both these trend lines. So the bulls are looking at these recent lower highs. Technically, if this was your last low and this was your last low, they might come out of the woodworks and be like, yo, this is a double bottom. Right. But it's not, right? It's not. It didn't really get there, but it was the absolute lowest spot that you could have seen a higher low show up. Absolute lowest spot. So it cannot breach that 135, because if it does, it doesn't look good. My real gut here is that it actually just kind of goes sideways for a bit. And all this nonsense ends up just going sideways, and then creates a new base. And hopefully, let's say you're bullish, you get something like that. Hopefully. And at that point, you would be further away from this prevailing downtrend. And that's exactly what we saw happen to Tesla, right? Tesla had the prevailing downtrend. It fought with it for a really long time until it finally gets further away. You did get that retest, but it wasn't it's real close. It gets kind of choppy.
Right.
That's the truth.
And then Trump won, which kind of helped.
I mean, that just was the catapult. But if you knew, hey, look, you take a retest, you didn't need to know that Trump was going to win. Technically speaking, this was unfortunately, this is earnings day. Yeah, earnings still also. So it was earnings kind of move, and then now you're further away from that downtrend. 1, 2, 3, fourth attempt, they break.
Right. Okay. Can we do hymns, which we had a conversation on?
Yeah. So we talked about it last week, didn't we? Oh, God, it's in the same spot.
So it went down on the Amazon thing, and now it's back.
So
Amazon was supposed to kill them, and now they're not killing them, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think that anybody that. So we had a friend, who was it on last week's show? The Tech Talk show.
Yeah, logical. Yeah.
Logical. He had flipped bullish to bearish, and I didn't know. And Stock Talk. I don't think
super bearish, really bearish.
Yeah, I think that might have been a little. And my thing was I don't think it's really. If you're a fan of HIMS, another low float stock, right? If you're a fan of HIMS, I don't think that you're really deterred by Amazon going into the marketplace. You're probably going to come up with your own reasons as to why HIMS has a moat.
Your chart is wrong. HIMS is at $30 right now. What are you looking at?
Oh, okay. I know why, because I'm in the replayed mode.
Got you.
Okay, came back.
Yeah. That's what I meant by Amazon tried to kill them, and now they're back.
Yeah, so I had 23, right? So 23 is your breakout. Yeah, so I don't think that it deters. So when we were looking at it then, I didn't think it was going to really deter a HIMS investor, honestly. And I think Amazon, having that new offer goes into hey, this is a valid market. So here, let me just stay in my lane. And we'll go back to the charts. So this last high right here, it's the same thing. 1, 2, third time was not it. This is the fourth one. Funny how that works, huh?
Yep.
And it's clearly a newer high. So I don't think you chase this here, but I think at targets, I'll get to technical targets, but I think that you need to have, I believe this is a low float. I believe it is. When you get situations like this, and if you get, we were just talking about this, if you get a low float stock with high short interest in an uptrend, you get wild. So let me just do the tech. So here's the consolidation area, large consolidation area, larger, right? So I'm measuring from whatever this is nearly 9 months. Yeah, actually. And so of this box, this is the halfway point that we're sitting at right now, 31 and change. So I think it needs to go a little bit higher to 33s and then rest. But I think ultimately 38s and potentially 40s, dude. So I think you want to see this little bit of a blip. This very near term, very, day or two pullback is going to look like a little flag. That's what's going to happen. And that flag fires and it goes to 33. And that's it for that one. Well, I think it could potentially go to 34s, but I really wouldn't push it. If you see 35, I would take profit because near-term profit, unless you're investing, that's a whole different thing. Because I think then you come back and you retest in here and then you follow through.
Right.
So that's the trajectory that this is telling me so far. That could take a few days. That doesn't need to play out this week because this could happen like this and then go. And I think you use this prior topping formation as kind of like your defensive area. That brings it to 29s. So if you get this kind of retest, but I think the broader breakout is confirmed at this point. So now it's just a matter of, so the reason I'm not really looking downside because the broader breakout to me is confirmed technically. Fourth attempt, new high, new all-time high. All-time highs are not bearish. I think you then become like, okay, where's the retest area that I want to jump in on? So what kind of pullback do I look for if I'm looking at this? And so, yeah, I have a lot of confidence. Half of this recent, 30-something% bounce takes me to 28.45. So I have confluence on my levels just there, and I can probably pull up a volume profile. Yeah, 28's in the 28.
It really does feel like the Spotify story where Amazon Music was not going to take down Spotify, even though, Google, Apple Music, etc. I mean, maybe their growth is enough to not Amazon for that to not stop them from continuing to grow.
Yeah, well, I mean, Amazon tries to take over everybody.
Right.
That's like their MO, right? Like that's just is what they do. But it doesn't mean that they're going to that is a long story for Amazon in the pharma space, in the drug space. Like that is not that's a long game for them. If that makes sense. Like they're definitely long play.
All right, Jason. So
the question is between now and 5 years from now, when Amazon maybe does eventually take them out, do they end up just buying HIMS? But that gives HIMS a lot of runway because they're not really gonna take them out tomorrow. It's gonna be years.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Jason, I want to be respectful of your time. We got like
these guys are all in Sentinel One.
Yeah, so let's do the rapid fire 2 minutes a ticker. I've got like 7-8 of them left, and we'll get this.
So Sentinel One is like people are like AMD's a catch up to NVIDIA. Sentinel One is your catch up to CrowdStrike. It is and it isn't, right? Like Sentinel One is a good tech on its own. This is endpoint protection, by the way. This is your number 2 to CrowdStrike, but it's a clear number 2. I don't think CrowdStrike's losing a lot of market share, but it's going to come down to Sentinel One's earnings. don't think they grew either on this last quarter. Actually, you guys probably know. I wasn't a middle now. So we'll just see. So I think if you get this consolidation, it's okay. What I will say is I will defer to the January effect on this. I mean, this is all happening. Like, you're gonna have to break out. So this might not be. So we'll call it 1, 2, 3, maybe another pullback on earnings, and then post earnings go through. But you would be looking for the 37s, essentially, potentially up to that prior IPO price. But this is a chart that I would say this is you gotta sit on this. This might be not till like late next year that it gets there, or mid-year next year if it does break through, because I'm on a pretty high time frame. I'm looking at this pretty widely. So not 1, 2, not this one, next one. Next.
Okay. Can we do MELI, Mercado Libre?
I mean, this is just so you don't trade this, you just own it. This is a monthly chart. This looks like Amazon. Yeah, we're already post earnings.
They had a good earnings too. It wasn't bad earnings at all.
Dude, this is the same setup like over and over.
Yeah.
This is a really good chart. Very good long-term chart. This is investment. This is not trade on MELI. I would not recommend options at all. They're highly, highly illiquid. This is not necessarily ready. So I think it could consolidate a little bit more. And I'm looking, so it's this $2,020 level.
I think split. That's what it needs.
No, it doesn't trade on the NYSE, right? It's not. It's like BABA, right? Like where you're gonna have after hours stuff, and it's not a U.S. stock. This is one that you just want to DCA in, and you want to own it. So you're looking at 2,800 for this next move into next year, potentially 33K by the year after next.
Right.
But that's a healthy looking chart. Just now starting. So next year is going to be a big year for Mercado Libre, assuming nothing in the story fundamentally changes. Because remember, fundamentals overrule technicals if the story changes. This is assuming the story stays as is.
Okay, can we do IWM?
All-time highs, baby. It hit. This is my extension. I have 285s on IWM.
Yeah.
We're there. I think this is so. I don't think you press this bet right now, but I think there's a lot of seasonal factors here at play. I mean, dude, this is just like we're in it, right? So maybe one more attempt and then the attempt after the next attempt. Like this is slowly higher highs. I think you just be long. Like you're just long. This is a tough one to trade. 237s would be an okay pullback. And you really want it. So IWM, redheaded stepchild of the market, we call it. So I would, if this was a normal stock, I would say 237s, but it's not, because it does what it does. Like either this is just going to go, or you're going to get some kind of like something like that. In all reality, you know, I hate to say it, but that's how this goes down. But it is 262 next, and then into 285s for next year. So I think
close to Tom Lee's target of 300, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just under it, 295. I mean, if it breaches 295, then I would say 311s. But sure, 300, cut it in the middle. But yeah, I think so. The reason I say 285, this is the majority of the meat is off the bones at 285. I think you're trying to hang on for the rest of the scraps at 311. But this has got a very strong seasonal trend coming out of December into January, February.
Right.
That I would bank on right now.
Okay.
With the rate stories.
Can we do a new one we haven't done before? Victoria's Secret, VSCO.
VSCO, I know it.
You like this one?
I like a lot of these. I don't like, this is not my thing. Did they get a new CEO? What am I thinking of? Oh my God.
The CEO is Eric Whitman.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, I was thinking about another company that, crap, I have to go back into our stuff. Anyways.
This thing is up a lot this year, I think. VSO year to date.
Yeah, so a lot of these are.
That's up 40%.
Is Empire? Somebody tell me what's my, so a lot of these clothing companies, yeah, Estee Lauder, JB, what is the one that Holly and Emp do? It starts. It's in the same area. It's like the clothing stuff. Not Lululemon.
It's not Ruru. It's not Ruru. So do you think it has more upside here? Kind of how are you? I mean,
I think you have to go into these and find out if there's a real turnaround story.
I would have to listen to the earnings call, but 40% up. I think the market thinks there is a story here.
Yeah, no. So there's we talked about it like a few weeks ago. Crap. I'm really blanking. This is killing me right now.
What are you looking for? The name of what?
Another VF Corp. Jesus Christ. So VF Corp, super similar. Do you know what this is? This is,
I've heard of these guys.
Sport, right?
Yeah.
Supreme. This was a turnaround story, actually. Like they hired an old Lulu exec to clean up their finances. Like this thing was priced for bankruptcy, dude. Look at this. So like VSCO, I think, is in a similar boat, but look at, you're going to get a lot of these setups that could be just under the radar, absolute face ripper reversals if they happen. This is a monthly chart. We do have to look at RIVN too, but I don't know enough about Victoria's Secret to say one way or the other. But if there was more data on the chart, it would look like that one. But this is all retail. So this is consumer in general. Somebody mentioned, yes, Nike. Yes, Nike. I think that this Nike dip is coming into an area 77s. That's possibly buyable. I did buy this dip on Nike at 73. I bought that. So I think that this is continuation. This is long consumer. Victoria's Secret, I think, is probably, I don't think Victoria's Secret has legs. I think that was funny, but I think it like, I think it might be someone trading a seasonal move, but this is probably Target acquired. Unless there's something about the stock I don't know. Estee Lauder, Elf, the whole cohort. I think you're about to get this whole thing to be a reversal, right? So think of consumer, think of holiday, right? Elf, I actually liked at 110, right? We had a nice clean reversal here, this kind of base. So give it another shot or two. This is not, this is constructive. It's not breaking out. But if you see it holding 120s, just over 120s, 122s, I think you start to really look at this. So if you get a reversal day on Elf, I think this is one where you go to, potentially. Someone said Estee Lauder. I think this has got a lot of China exposure, but this is just absolutely in the doldrums. You got to have a story here, right? Because these charts are absolute crap. But these are the ones that, like, if you do have that so like the IWM turnaround in the retail sector, like it might be this kind of stuff that that is the under the radar plays, because there are a lot just like this. You guys are asking me. I've seen this on Archer small cap.
Yeah, what do you think of this one? This one ran up a lot this week.
Yeah, no, it's very wiki.
It got a couple upgrades. Still pre-revenue, but
yeah, it's an idea stocks. So over 8. This is a SPAC, right?
a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, so I see the SPAC pricing.
Yeah. I mean, again, the core thesis here is they have a $6 billion first quarter for their.
I think next shot it breaks.
This is all off an upgrade, in my opinion. This is nothing fundamental outside of excitement.
This looks kind of like that Rocket Lab chart.
It does. It looks a little bit like Rocket Lab, and if they start showing real revenue and earnings, which might take a couple quarters, but
this is what. So the 680 is holding. So 680 comes from here. This last pivot. God, it is so technical. 690s. I mean, I think this is like the time where you're just gonna like throw some darts, not crazy darts, but look at 690 holds. You got an inside day. It's really not breaking out, but if you're holding that, if that fails, then you go to 550s. So you're not de-risked, it's high risk, because 680s fail, you go to 550 in probably short order, and that's going to pull you back to right here, 565s. And then I'd probably take a little bit more on, like buy, but I wouldn't personally buy it below that. But that risk, that's like 50% risk.
Yes, I agree.
That's a lot. It's hard to swallow unless you do it with small size.
Can we do Netflix?
I haven't looked at it. Is it still going? Nope. But it's consolidating. Same thing. Exhaustion yesterday. God, we did say this is going to go to $9,999. $999. Dude, just tell me why this isn't going to go to $1,000. Like, how does a stock at $900 not eventually go to $1,000?
I got upgraded to 1,000 last week by a bunch of firms. So
I mean, it got upgraded to 1,000 by us at 700. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
True,
but yeah, I think this is good consolidation. It's not ready. If you get another pullback, it's 845s. So 845s in here. I don't necessarily think you get that. So you got a lot of stuff. When does Squid Games 2 come out? When Squid Games 2 comes out, Amit's gonna buy this stock and he's just gonna put it in the.
I'm not gonna buy it, but I will be.
He's gonna buy it.
December 26th. I am binging that series. Yeah. I don't binge any show. That show I love.
You binge shows, dude. Don't give me that.
And if they disappoint, Prison Break. Prison Break was the last show I binged. But if season 2 disappoints, I'll be very upset because it's really hard for me to find a show that keeps my attention because of my attention span. And Squid Games kept my attention. So
this is daily. I think if you get a red day tomorrow, so down day, exhaustion day. Today we have not broken range. So it's this 865, just call it 860 for round numbers. And from this to here, this is half of that kind of push back. We call half back. It's about 858. A good dip near a near-term dip. I have to be really careful because you have a lot of investors. You're already on your way. You don't buy this type of thing. This is trading. Or if you just DCA regularly, it'd be 845s. It would feel rough for a bit. $20 downside move. It's going to happen. Boom. Thursday, right? Or Friday. But that's a dip to buy if you see it. Otherwise, 886 and change. Basically today's high. if you're over today's high, I think this is accumulation, dude. Like this is going to $1,000. It's going over $1,000. It's going to $1,200. Amit has upgraded Netflix price target to $1,200. It's just what's happening.
Dude, they had 105 million people watch the fucking Jake Paul thing. Like it's a decent amount of people.
Okay, upgrade again, $1,250.
Okay, can we do KULR quickly? This is a small cap that exploded 80%. You probably don't know about it either, unless you kept up with it. The battery company. Yeah,
Is it Chinese?
I don't know if it's Chinese, but does the chart look scary to you, or what are you thinking?
I don't think this is even. I don't think we can legally talk about this, dude.
See, that's the thing, dude. I appreciate you guys bring up these stickers, but
not talk about this.
I know you guys want the TA on this, but these are really
if we talk about this, if we have an opinion on this, we can get in trouble because one person can bump this.
I agree. So let's not even do it. Let's not do it. Okay, can we do Boeing, which is the new
So I bought Boeing this day. It's the same thing, high low, but I don't have that simple moving average stuff. Boeing is like the most ridiculous chart. This is called a broadening formation. We talked about this in a prior episode. You'll have to search. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I did have these last lows here. 133 is a level I've been waiting for forever on Boeing, but I had to take it I didn't have to, but I decided to take it just on this series of higher, it is a series of higher highs and lower lows. That is a broadening formation. That is a form of range expansion. And for a long time, the range was expanding to the downside. But, these are, again, not easy setups. This was similar to a meta setup, but on a much larger scale. This can get a little choppy. I think at this point, if you see 145, pull back and hold. The thing is, today should have hit 145 off of Buffett's notes or whoever it was. Today should have hit 145 and it didn't, right? So wait,
why would it hit 145? What would be the reason?
Somebody was I think it was Buffett. Buffett said they need to discontinue one of the planes or something.
Oh, I didn't see
but I think your next retest is in this 145 area. Just over 145. So it'd look like this. That would feel rough if you're in it now, but I think that's honestly reasonable because this setup is not a short-term setup to me. This is something that you're looking at,
you're believing the company is not dead. They're going to recover. Management will change. The strikes will end. All that stuff.
And that's a multi-year thing, right? So it took Larry Culp 3 years or so to see real improvement in GE, right? So Larry came into GE. This is weekly. I think over here, right? And it still went against him somewhere in here. And the stock took a dive, right? And it was years before the stuff that they work on actually takes hold. And it's not till way over here that boom, you get this massive move in GE, right? But GE it's similar. So for Boeing, this is the type of thing. And by the way, GE looks good, going higher. But for Boeing, this is kind of the thought. I don't know if this new guy is going to be the same thing. It's not like they're bringing one of the best CEOs into the company on record, which is exactly what GE did. So that's different, right? Larry Culp is probably the best, is a freaking magician, financial magician. But, we don't necessarily have that here. But I think this is super constructive. So you expand your range, you get to that 137. I don't know that the lows are in, but this is one of those ones where I'm here, I'm going to take my shot. The next time I see 145, to me, I already got some shares. I may start looking at some 200 leaps if I do get that pullback, on a very long term.
Boeing doesn't have a dividend either. I thought they would. They don't have it.
No, I don't want them to. We want them to like fix their stuff. I don't really want to. I don't want to trade on dividend stocks per se. So if we get an extension, two things are going to happen. Either you get this pullback today. Honestly, today I feel like it should have gone deeper, and the fact that it didn't makes me pretty constructive. So this is the box right here. I think this is important. So we've had the range expansion to the downside, but it stopped going down so far. If you get this pullback, this is in between 149, just slightly under 150, down to 146. So it's this green box that was prior support, very near term support, bounce, support in here, wick below, breach through, but now back through. I'm looking for this area. Do you guys see this on chart? Super important. If you're thinking about going long Boeing, this is a MIT audience type of thing. Long term. I'm looking for this area to now flip from to support again, really. Like this was breakthrough. It just support. So if this gets, it doesn't even need to go in there. It could just go, honestly. And if you get that set up, the thing about Boeing, it's got so much hate from a lot of investors, is that if Boeing does turn around from a technical perspective, which would look like over 160, 157. Okay, there is no question. Over 160, it is now broken all downtrends in its entirety. I just feel like so many people have been like down on the dumps on Boeing for so long that if it does have a technical turnaround and some kind of fundamental turnaround inside, it could make that trajectory round trip a lot faster than people would think, because this has just been so beaten up for so long. This is one where I might, like, you might be able to say, okay, is there oversold? No, it's not even oversold. That's fine. But there is divergence.
Yeah. Okay. Can we do Fubo quick, and then we'll do Crowdstrike?
I cannot do Fubo. It's too cheap. It's hard to I do Fubar.
Yeah, some of these names, guys, it's just hard for Jason to actually.
You got a penny stock, like whatever. There's nothing to chart here.
Okay, so we'll move on.
You guys want to throw me some OTCs, some like 10-cent stocks?
Let's do Rivian. We'll do that one real quick.
Oh yeah. So Rivian is interesting. So I think Rivian, look, they got to be cash flow positive. They're not. They actually lost more money per vehicle on this last report. Tough. This is a cash burn story. Eventually, to me, one day they will be cash flow positive. I'm not in the stock. In our server, I went underweight Rivian on this break here, 13 and change. So I think until it gets over, like, it's one where, like, if you want to buy Rivian, I think you buy Rivian and you put it in a drawer and you don't look at it for 10 years, right? Like that's how it's
because in 10 years they'll have a gross profit on their
maybe right.
Like, dude, I don't like Rivian right here, dude, because after I saw that earnings, even with the money they're getting, they are not making any money.
No. So, like, to be fair, this technically does not look good. So here's the breakdown. 1280s, right? Like, to me, if it's under 1280, it's not in an uptrend. It's just not, right? So like, it's not an opinion, right? If it's under 1280, it's not in an uptrend. So this is where we are, right? And I think you can see this reaction here. This is where I bought, or no, this is where I bought that first time, recent time. Way up here. That's a big one, whatever. But when it lost this, I'm out, right? Because that's here. That's also here. This is no good below 13. It's just what it is.
Right.
it's seasonally strong. It's fine. I think it could get back up there. But let's say this does that like multiple attempts. And I know like they did get some more funding, but the story is not about that. The story is not about the funding for Rivian. The story is about cash flow and their ability to be profitable when they sell cars. Even if they sell more cars, look, if Rivian sells too many cars, it's almost not good, right? Because they're going to be losing more money and they're going to need more funding. So it's really got to be laser focused on, yes, they need the funding to stay alive, but they really got to drive cost efficiencies. But I'm telling you, once they do flip that switch, because eventually they will, it's going to be off to the races, but it's not right now.
Okay, can we do Marathon?
Sorry, guys. Same with Lucid, yeah. Rocket. I like Marathon. This is probably it, right? So I think this one happens. This is a pullback day today, but where it's holding, I think is fine. So I don't hate this. I think it's still in that kind of trajectory. This is probably a decent dip buy. Decent.
And
We'll
any
see.
concerns with them and MicroStrategy and all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, no, not. So I think that the reason I would like some of these miners right now is because I think they might take away from the MicroStrategy thing. Mars they have to, first of all, they have to reclaim 27, number one. It trades really weird. So sometimes Mara opens like high and then gets immediately sold off, but then intraday will also like reverse. This is not a horrible like pullback right now. I know from this very near term trend, it looks down, but it's not really breaking structure. If you have a green day tomorrow, this is going higher. And I think it's going significantly higher. Like through January's. I think you see 30s. Which is, it's not a bad trade. But I think it's speculative. It's not, you can't position heavy here. This is from this, so it's 24s, but this volume shelf, little peak kind of hidden here, it's sitting on it. So that's why I do kind of like it. You'll see it intraday if it breaks this kind of downtrend. It doesn't take much for that to break. So it'll just be like poof and gone. But you don't want it below 24s, 23s. All right.
Okay. All right. It's been 3 hours. I know you got to go. We're going to do like 5 of them real quick, 30 seconds each, just to get them out of the way. And then we are done. Grab.
Oh, yeah, we are getting in. Did somebody just type Roku? I thought they got their target. Where's Chris?
The target's like $10 in the next year. I think that's the main one.
What? No. This is not a U.S. company. Does not trade on
but I don't think you've done as much research on this, but I do think $10 in a year and a half is reasonable on Grab. This isn't a scam company or anything like that. This is like...
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it doesn't trade on fundamentals, is what I'm saying.
No, I think that's the only reason it's breaking out is because they're profitable, free cash flow's up, like they're buying back shares, EBITDA margins are up. I think that's why...
Is this not like a Korean or some Eastern Asian?
It's Southeast Asia, yeah.
Southeast Asia.
The Uber of Southeast Asia, of Singapore.
Okay, so they don't trade on our fundamentals. If they did, they'd be higher. But like, so let's go. I'll take the opposite side. If and only if this loses 488. So it's got to hold 488 to hold trajectory. You are holding that right now. That was that last breakout area. So you're currently holding it. You lose it, you're gone. And $4, you're back to entry. If you like the story, cool. Do you like the management team?
I am researching the management team. I like the story. I like the chart. I feel like this is a sexy chart, dude. Consolidated for 2 years. This looks like SoFi to me. Valuation's a little different, but
it's in a different market for me.
It's in a different market, but I like
you guys can do it. Like you can do it. I'm not hating on it. This is not for me.
Okay, let's do CrowdStrike.
Oh. So Crowdstrike, I had to turn that extended hours on right now. So they're back to Crowdstrike is back to the scene of the crime, you guys. It is literally back to the scene of the crime. I don't see why this doesn't sit here actually for a long bit. So the scene of the crime is 3:45, July 19th, 2025. That is the crime scene right there.
24.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've recovered from a decent chunk of that.
No, well, right now it's
You're
at
talking about the Y2K
343.
incident, right?
Yeah.
Remember,
I
they're up
think
from 200.
overstated. Yeah, like overstated here. Go back above, breach it, right? Basically tag those prior highs. But now we're sitting at the scene of the crime. So I think you have to give this a 3-day rule, at least, right? So not this week. Let it breathe. If it pulls back, so I think everybody will be in agreement now that $200 was just way overdone. There's a lot of technical stuff, but from here down, let me take this stuff down. Yeah,
Crowdstrike right now after hours, guys, is
341.
So it's down what, 7%? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's 6 and change. It's not honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It was just here the other day, right? So, but 345 is the scene of the crime. So I think you have to look at this and say, okay, well, this is now probably, I just don't think it really breaks down from here because I think it's more appropriate, right? This is that, okay, exhaustion, you've recovered. Clearly, you didn't deserve to be at 200. The market priced it right back to the highs, but does it deserve to be at the highs either? That's where the market's going to have to digest this, right? And so I think if you get this pullback, I think you're looking at 300s again, which may be 10% more. But at that point, it's probably going to base out and then resume its climb higher to me if it gets there. But for right now, I think it's too early to say technically. 327 is the first stop. And so we can just look at this from that volume perspective. You were right into that prior high area, 380s. You're probably not going to get there right away. Ideally, so here we'll just do this channel up because it is in a larger uptrend. Like you're still that recovery trend intact. So although this might feel rough, I don't think it's that rough. And so if I take this and I said 300s, that's probably going to line up right into that. If you 300, you don't be too specific. We'll call it in the 325s. I don't hate that. And even in the 325s, I have a decent amount of confidence here because you're going to come into this prior investor base from here. This is 2024. I think these guys here all bought mostly 315s. I think if you see around the 320s, I might buy some. But it goes back to is it a growth story still? Is the multiple like that big? So this is going to be a retest of that break. Let me see if I can get some confluence. Yeah, and by that time, it's gonna take a minute to catch its legs. So you don't have to get out there. Look at this. So this is gonna line up almost exactly to the 200-day simple moving average at that point. So you have a lot of confluence in the 320s area, just over 300. I do like that. So you will have a lot of confluence there. This longer term uptrend support from the breakdown area, 200-day simple moving average is going to be your primary. Call that red line right there. And then this prior breakout in the 320s, aligning with this 2024 investor base support. So this was resistance. It was resistance here. It was support here. These guys are what you're going to look for. You got a lot of confluence in the 320s. So I really like 320.
Okay, so let's do 5 more, but I'm legit giving you 30 seconds, and after that, I'm just cutting.
Well, this one was interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this one is good. This one's also a good one. These other 5 should be quick. Okay, 30 seconds each. Square.
Yeah, I think it caught. So 3-day rule, got to breathe, right? It caught a downgrade. I told you it wasn't happening yet, right? Like it wasn't. It's not even. It's heating up. We're heating up. We're not like the oven is just preheating right now. We haven't even stuck the turkey in, you guys. It's like Thanksgiving isn't here yet. So
Okay.
just give it a bit. I think if this pulls back, you can see 85s again. So, but at that point, that's where I'd be more interested in. I'm in it now.
Okay.
I will be interested even more if I see 85 again to build into some longer dated stuff.
All right. Target.
Target TGT is stuck, right? So I had that is not a 420 cough or she got you kill me.
You are in California. So.
I don't do that. So Target, big breakdown. I think the valuation story gets really compelling. 13 times. Forward, you're at from this low to this high. This is a 50% pullback. If you lose a 50% retracement, I already had this here because we're just looking at this today. It's interesting. You have a session gap 125. I like 125s a lot more than here. Like just one more breach, pull it back, retest in this area. I like this a lot better. I think you take your shot right in here. I don't know that it goes right away, but I think you buy it either with equity or time. And see how it plays out. What you don't really want to do is if it loses that base, like that 124s, you don't want to average into a potential loser here because this is somewhat trying to catch a knife. But I believe that this area here, this area it has to be the lows. If it's not here, you're going to the hundreds again, to the 110s. And so if this fails, it's over. So if you want to take your shot, it's soon, anytime, what do we care, right? I'm talking about 125. It's 126.70. Do you really care about $2? Who cares? So, not on something like this because what you're trading for is probably significantly larger.
All right. Workday.
All right. Workday got shellacked. It usually does that. We'll have to see how it breathes. We are right back 236 support. So 3-day rule, see if it can catch its legs and continue back up. But this is support.
Okay. NVDA.
Don't know. So we said it was just getting absolutely shellacked. If there was a 0.5% day or something like that, you got it here, slap a condor on and sell your puts. I think you take profit on any sold puts here because you now have more to lose than you do to gain. It's interesting. It's interesting. So long term, $60 was it. You're looking for at this point, you're looking for a higher low, which is going to show up 65s. So if it pulls back, expect it to pull back. That's why I'm saying take profit on any sold puts. Expect it to pull back into 65s and then see what happens. But don't expect it to necessarily bounce at 65 because that could just be it for now. Extending over 73 and change, you do go to the 80s.
Okay. Last couple of PayPal.
I haven't looked at this one yet.
Not horrible in my opinion.
Yeah, no, not horrible. I did say I would get on the PayPal train. 1, 2, 3. Right?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Next attempt we go. Get ready. And I'm thinking 85. So it's not a big pullback. Ooh, it's happening. It's happening soon. next red day, look for a reversal right in the 85s, and I might be on this bandwagon with you guys.
Okay, last two.
Someone said ET. You're way late to this party. You're too late to this.
Yeah, this one's. You're buying for the dividend. It's fine, but the capital appreciation.
No, it's not. Not anymore. But yeah, your capital appreciation is good.
There's a nice 7% divvy. You don't like that on this one?
It can't be 7 anymore.
No. This one pays a good. Let me see if it's still 6.7.
Well, when it gets to, so the higher the stock goes, the lower the percentage, right? So it'll get to like, I don't know, 3% or something. That gets cut in half. But yeah, you're. Hopefully you've been long for this for a while. But this is a good. I like this stock. I mean, not for a breakout right now. Okay, what was the next one?
Snowflake.
Oh, snow. The Winter Soldier Bucky. Yeah, man.
It's good.
All right, lady's calling.
Lady's calling. All right, is that the time to end it?
Yeah, so if you see 160s hold, fine, maybe. The story hasn't changed for me. The tech has always been good, but the leadership is TBD. But 160s is a retest.
All right. I think that's it. Do we end it? That's it?
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying. I love you guys. You know, we're on streams all the time. We're going to be on... you know what? If you guys really want tickers and stuff, come visit us on Thursday when we do a live show. There's always a Q&A section. You can always ask about tickers over there too.
Yeah, and we got through a lot. We got through almost 45 of them. So if you got one you didn't get, hit Jason up on Twitter. Just try to tweet at him and see if he can respond to it. But Jason, we appreciate it. There's his Twitter, his Discord, all of his groups, private stuff.
Appreciate you guys.
In the links. Thank you, Jason. See you next week.
Adios. Bye.
See you. 3 hours, bro. It got to the point where his wife is calling and she's like, honey, you got to come home now. Goodness. So that was a lot of tickers. Palantir, Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, Bitcoin, SoFi, SMCI, MicroStrategy, Rocklab, Amazon, Hood, Dell, Intel, Google, Apple, AMD, HIMS, Mercado Libre, Small Caps, ELF, Estee Ladar, Victoria's Secret, Archer, Netflix, Boeing, Rivian, Marathon, and then in the rapid fire section, we had like another 20 of them. So I'm sorry if we didn't get to some of the tickers, but we got through as many as we could. And hopefully people, when they revisit it, they can go back to the ones they want to see. Overall, what I'm getting from Jason here is that a lot of stocks are in this territory where they run up a lot, like even Crowdstrike being down 7%. He's not faded by that. I kind of don't care that much about that. Crowdstrike's up almost a 92% from the lows, so it kind of makes sense. It's taking a little bit of a pullback. Same thing with Palo Alto. Same thing with a lot of these names that have had a really good year. And on earnings, they're not like literally crushing it, which is okay. You don't need to crush it, but they're still crushing it, even if it's not phenomenal. And that's taking the stocks down a little bit currently right now. Palantir was the first one, correct? Yeah, all of them will be in the description, the timestamps, and you guys will be able to check it out. All right, boom. Long market close. So Thursday, there's going to be no show because it's Thanksgiving. I'm probably not streaming on Thursday. Friday, 12 p.m., I'll be live with Steve to do dividends. So we'll probably spend a couple hours talking about dividend stocks. Maybe Chris joins that one. Wednesday, tomorrow, the market's open as usual. And then Friday, I guess Friday we have two streams. We have the market open and then we have the Steve dividend stream. So market open will end at 11 and then Steve will be at 12. Steve will probably just join the market open. So it might be two streams. It might be one big ass stream on Friday. So we'll have the Black Friday stream and do that later this week. All right, cool. That's pretty much it. Last look at the kind of the earnings plays that we had today. Again, all of them were pretty red. Autodesk down 8%, Urban Outfitter up 8%, Workday down 10%, HP down 8%, Dell down 11%, Crowdstrike down about 6.2%, Nordstrom down 0.5%, IREN Energy, they're up 7.85%, or Iris Energy, ticker symbol IREN, and then Nutanix up 5.25%. Palantir was running after hours. Palantir right here at 65.85. It was at 66.30. So not sure what was the reason for the run, but 65.85. You got Hood as well moving after hours, 36.70, up 0.77%. Bitcoin itself in that 92 range, trying to get back to 93. MSTR, which took a nasty hit today, down 12%, up 3% after hours. And then you got Coinbase as well, up a little bit, 0.96% after hours. IWM was red on the day, 240, up a little bit after hours. And the S&P ended at all-time highs, did touch 601. 600.65 on the day, 600.84 after hours. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all joining. We will be back tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. for the market open, and keep going from there. Appreciate you all. Thank you for joining. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the market open. I'm not going to spend the next 2 hours yapping. It's already been a 3-hour stream, so we're going to make sure that we end it. You know, we're not going to 4 hours. So I'm not going to look for any comments in the chat to take me to a different direction, even though that's what I'm doing right now. We're going to end the stream. We're going to end it. Okay. We're going to end it. We're going to properly end the stream. I need to go say hi to my mom. So that's it. Stream's over. All right. I'm hovering over to the end stream. I'm going to press the button and then we're done. That's it. Oh, we didn't do Grinder. Yeah, we got to do Grinder. We got to do that one. Eric says one more thing. Overnight trading. Dude, the market doesn't stop. We got overnight trading in 50 minutes. Do we just stay live until overnight trading? And then, yo, what if I did a show every day at 7:45 leading up to overnight trading starting at 8 p.m.? Dude, I don't even like that idea because I'm seriously thinking, what if you did that every... There's no way you could do that every day. There's no way you guys would show up every day at 7:45 for the 8 p.m. open every day. That means we would have a market open, a market close, and an overnight open. That would be insanity, bro. That would be insanity. Maybe one day we do that on Sundays. We do that on Sundays. But every day that would be a little tough. All right. Love you all. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:45 when the market open. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.